afternoon from Pittsburgh. Saturday ACC baseball coming your way this afternoon. Number 16, Pitt Panthers hosting NC State this weekend. Wolfpack took a close one last night in game number 1. This is game number 2 here today on Saturday. And yesterday, Pitt was named one of 20 potential regional host sites for the national tournament. Panthers need to break through against NC State. Wolfpack have had the Panthers number in recent years. Welcome into the booth, everyone. Thanks for being with us. Kevin Wheeler alongside former Pitt pitcher Matt Iannazzo. And Matt, there's a lot on the line for both these teams this weekend.
Certainly, Kevin. It's great to be with you here today. For Pitt, looking to polish off that resume to possibly host here at Charles L. Cost. And for NC State, looking to put the finishing touches on their resume to possibly get at large into the NCAA tournament.
Well, they had a good start last night in game number 1 with the win. And this guy, Austin Murr, got them going, batting .400 when he leads off an inning.
Yeah, certainly, Austin Murr. Not every day do you see a power-hitting, left-handed first baseman leading off, but Austin Murr certainly fits the bill, scoring over a run a game out of the leadoff spot for NC State. Quality player, looks to set the table.
Had the game-winning run last night. Also has 13 doubles, which leads the team in his 7th in the conference. And today he's going to have a challenge against him on the hill for the Panthers is Matt Gilbertson, who's been on fire recently.
Absolutely, Kevin. When you talk about Matt Gilbertson, the word that comes to mind is consistency. You see there 7 innings pitched in each of his last 6 starts. He's going to look to put another quality start out there for the Panthers today.
And the big one, Matt, is the 4-0 in his last 4 starts. He's getting decisions. He's going deep. Tell us about the big righty, Matt Gilbertson.
Yeah, the junior right-hander from Nevada. He's going to feature a nice 3-pitch mix. Fastball, breaking ball, and a split change. But the big thing for him is he competes. Every time out, you're going to see it today. He gets fired up and he leads this Pitt team.
Yeah, he brings that energy. It's going to be fun for us today. What a treat it is to be here with you today at sunny Charles L. Cost Field inside the Peterson Sports Complex. Absolutely gorgeous day for baseball today. There is Austin Murr. He'll lead it off for the Wolfpack, and he gets a knock right up the middle, just under the glove of the second baseman, David Yanni. So Murr picking up where he left off last night. Had 3 hits last night. Gets things going for the Wolfpack today.
Yeah, Kevin, right on cue, right? He must have heard us talking, maybe with some of these windows open. A great leadoff at-bat for NC State. Attacks the first pitch against the competitor, Matt Gilbertson, and NC State in business.
Next is Tyler McDonough, but we're highlighting Johnny Butler for you today. 6 straight multi-hit games during his 6-game hitting streak. This guy's got a 3rd-ranked batting average in the conference. And you know what's interesting about him, Matt, I think, is Johnny Butler, 3-hole hitter, but he kind of gets overshadowed by guys like Tyler McDonough, Austin Murr, Jose Torres. There's just so much talent up and down this lineup. It's hard to pick one guy.
Yeah, it's not a wonder why this NC State team was preseason ranked in the top 25. There's so many quality bats in this lineup from top to bottom, and Johnny Barrels, as he's called by his teammates, right? He's going to give quality at bats today.
Johnny Barrels, that's what head coach Elliot Avent told us Johnny's teammates calls him. Johnny Barrels because he centers that ball up on the barrel of his bat so often. Hard contact. Gilbertson sends the 1-1, a throw on down to Murr, who's trying to swipe second, and he can't get there. Thrown out by the Pitt catcher, Jackson Finney.
Absolutely, that's the aggressiveness of NC State, right? They're going to take off. They're not afraid to get caught stealing. A good jump that he gets off, but it looks like just a great catch and throw behind the plate by the freshman in Finney that takes the runner off the base paths.
You wonder what Murr coming into today on the season, only 3 stolen base attempts, and he was safe every time, but a guy that doesn't run very often, taken off early, so Elliot Avent trying to be aggressive.
Yeah, it's something you don't see a lot in today's day and age, right? Today's day and age, you see a lot of station-to-station baseball, maybe waiting for the 3-run home run, waiting for the ball to maybe go into a gap. NC State really pushes the envelope, all right? They have a lot of athletes on their roster. You're going to see a little bit of a different type of baseball when you watch NC State.
The 2-2 is swung on and gets away from Finney, and it looks like McDonough is going to get there safely. So the strikeout, but he does take first.
Yeah, that pitch is tough, right, from behind the plate. It looked like there, as we'll see a replay, that might have been one of those split change-ups that Gilbertson throws, and not only the awkward spin comes out of Gilbertson's hand, it's tough to hit, but when the ball bounces, it tends to bounce in multiple directions because the spin is not always consistently the same. So Finney unable to get his shoulders around and keep that one in front, and NC State's got another runner on.
So it's ruled a wild pitch, and that's how McDonough reaches first. So here is Johnny Butler. Johnny Butler hitting .376 on the year, third in the conference, with a .446 on base percentage. The throw over to first to check on McDonough. You know your teammates like you when they start calling you Johnny Barrels. That's good stuff. Look at that, OPS of over 1,000. That's very high. You talk about the ACC ranks as well.
Yeah, and we asked Coach Avon, we said, hey, why is Butler so good? What does he do that separates him? And he says, honestly, it's the day in, day out consistency. Never getting too high, never getting too low. And that is indicative in his swing, where the quality contact comes more often than not, but maybe not trying to do too much.
Off and running is McDonough. Another throw down, this one high. So Finney 1 for 2 on throw down attempts. And McDonough swipes a bag.
And I wonder, Kevin, after watching the first two batters, they get on base and they steal within the first couple of pitches. If that wasn't in the scouting report, they know the freshman's behind the plate. Maybe they're trying to take advantage of that new type of player to college baseball. I don't think it's a coincidence the first two guys taking off.
It's McDonough's 10th stolen base on the season. He's got a sizable lead off second, and swinging for strike 2 is Johnny Butler. That one fell down and away out of the zone. Gilbertson ahead with a 1-2 count. Taking off again is McDonough. This one in the dirt. Finney's going to settle and throw on down to first. But look at McDonough coming home safe. He is in there. First run of the game for NC State, and a headsy play by Tyler McDonough.
And the guy that Coach Elliott Avon calls Charlie Hustle scores from second base on the strikeout. You don't see that every day, Kevin. Really good pitch by Gilbertson in the dirt, but you see Finney comes out into the infield grass to create the angle to throw to first. And because of that, it's unable to get back to get the out at home plate. An incredibly great hustle play by McDonough.
Charlie Hustle sliding in head first on a bang-bang play at home plate. So NC State on the board first as Luca Tresh, the sophomore catcher, steps in. Base is empty now after McDonough scampered home. So Matt, what do you got to do there if you're Finney on that play? I mean, there was no hesitation by McDonough. I don't think he had a hitch in his giddy up. He was going no matter what.
Yeah, great catch again, because if you're Finney, you're certainly not expecting the runner to even entertain the thought of scoring from second base on the strikeout. So now going forward, I think instead of working your way to create the angle on any sort of drop third strike into the infield grass, or here it's turf, right, but into that infield area, maybe you don't go as far and you get rid of it. You kind of learn your lesson quick, because McDonough clearly knew that that was going to happen and took advantage of it.
It's interesting, Tyler McDonough, third-year sophomore, but he's described by everybody that knows him as an absolute stud. I mean, he can play second really well. He can play center field at a really high level. He was an All-American in high school, and he's been a high-level player since the day he got to NC State. He does everything through the lens of that work ethic. Here's a tapper from Tresh over to Brock Franks. A strong throw. Gets Tresh. NC State up 1 on the headsy play by McDonough. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back here to Charles L. Cost Field. A lot of fans in the building for one of the first times this year. It's a good sight to see. He's getting set out for the Wolfpack as their starter right-hander freshman, Sam Highfill. Matt, what do you got on Sam Highfill?
Yeah, the freshman right-hander, he has really, really good stuff. You're going to see a low to mid-90s fastball from this freshman, but the interesting thing for him, you're going to see multiple arm angles. He's going to throw over the top, maybe a little bit low three-quarters into sidearm, to trying to create that deceptiveness to get some of these Pitt hitters out.
Much like Matt Gilbertson, Highfill also riding a 4-game win streak of his own. So he's picking up wins too. A really, really great pitching matchup for you today. And for the Panthers, they're going to trot out a similar lineup to what they usually do. You're looking at the first two guys there in Sky Duff and Nico Popa, but Ron Washington hit 15 of his last 18 games, had a big home run last night over that tall left field wall.
Absolutely. What you're going to see from Washington, a lot of power from the right side, right? He gets in the batter's box in an imposing figure, a lot of hard hit balls. He's the kind of guy that can lead the Panthers team on a nice run here at the end of this season into postseason if the Panthers can do it.
Hit a big swing on that thing too. Ron Washington, one of my favorite guys to watch hit home runs, because every once in a while you'll see that bat flip come out and man, he throws that thing when it happens. Not last night, but what a swing that was. As Sky Duff steps in, digging into the dirt to get things going for the Panthers. And Matt, we said there was a lot on the line for both these teams here as we entered today. Did you expect a first inning that electric, a play like that from Tyler McDonough to get us going?
Well, anytime you watch the aggressiveness of NC State, you can't be surprised, right? That's how Coach Elliott Avent coaches his guys. That's the type of guys that he recruits into the program. So, you know, you're maybe expecting something like that, but that first inning, you can't expect 2 stolen base attempts and a guy scoring from second base on a strikeout. You're not going to see that every day.
Yeah. We talked about Austin Murr already, but the Panthers have no slouch in their leadoff guy either with Sky Duff. Mike Bell really, really loves Sky Duff and what he brings to the team with that .348 batting average. It's good for 8th in the conference.
Yeah, if there's a guy that really exemplifies what Mike Bell is trying to do with this Pitt program in terms of blue-collar toughness, it's Sky Duff, right? You see how he's improved of late. That .474 batting average since April 5th, reached base in 14 straight games. You're going to see a lot of deep counts. He's going to get on base and try and set the table for this Pitt offense.
And this is what he does so well, just fouling off and wasting pitches. He epitomizes that toughness that Pitt has showed all year long from start to finish. Because when you look at the Pitt offensive statistics, nothing jumps off the page. In fact, they're bottom third of the conference in a lot of statistical categories. And so you ask yourself, how are you 22-14, 16-12 in the conference? And it's because they do things like that. Sky Duff gets that one to drop as the right fielder Brown couldn't get there. Went off the tip of his glove and Sky Duff slides in safely to second base. Panther dugout loves it. That might get him a Gritzberg t-shirt right there.
Absolutely. And what was the impressive thing there for Duff? Watch him here, busting it out of the box as soon as he hit it. Right, a ball a little bit in the gap, but definitely a catchable ball out there in right field by Devontae Brown. Just misses it. Maybe some of the top spin made it tough to catch. But if he didn't bust it out of the box, there's no way he gets to second base. Excellent job there by Sky Duff.
And as of right now, it's going to be ruled a double. But I think that one, Matt, might get flipped later on. Should have been caught by Brown. Right now, it's the 16th double of the year for Sky Duff, which is second in the conference. And in comes Nico Popa.
But back to your point you were saying, I mean, it's very interesting. I think the one thing that actually pops off the page about Pitt and their offense is that nothing pops off the page, right? They are able to win in different ways. They don't beat themselves. They don't make a ton of base running errors. It's very, very impressive in the ways that they have won games throughout the year without any of those players maybe that are hitting 400 or have 15 home runs.
Just doing the little things right. In terms of total runs, the Panthers are last in the ACC. You see some of their ACC ranks here.
Yeah, don't let those stats fool you, right? There are multiple players on this Pitt team, as you see the strikeout there with Popa, that are having great years, Popa being one of them, hitting .327 on the year with 8 home runs. They do have some thump in the lineup, but overwhelmingly they're not showing in those stats that we showed there.
So Popa down swinging. Duff still on second, 1 out, bottom 1. NC State up 1-0. And Kyle Hess steps in. All right, I'm going to bring it up, Matt, because pregame we were talking. Did a home run pick 'em, right? Had to do it. I asked you who you wanted, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because Kyle Hess was my pick to homer on the Panthers side, and we'll get to our other guy on the other side when he comes up. But we'll talk about this all day. Your guy Tresh, he already stepped to the plate, didn't fare too well.
Yep. He unfortunately wasn't able to go down. I'm jealous of your pick of Hess. He's one of my favorite players to watch in all the ACC. One of the most beautiful swings you'll see from the left side. Would not be surprised if he hits one up over to the cost center over there. Personally, I hope. I'd like all of our guys maybe to go deep, all 4. But
yeah. I don't know how much, we'd owe each other a lot of coffee tomorrow morning if everybody goes deep. At that point, I think if everybody homers that we chose, all 4 guys, we got to buy the whole crew coffee tomorrow morning.
Yeah. I think if you're going to tune in for the Sunday game, be ready for a lot of excitement if that's the case. We're all going to be hopped up on some caffeine.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course, the crew likes it. They get in our ears now and they say, yeah, they want some coffee.
Yeah.
I like it. Hess facing a 1-2 count against Highfill. Highfill stepping off. I love watching Kyle Hess as well, Matt. And I think our partner Jeff Hathorn said it on the show last night. One of the prettiest swings you'll see, I think, is how he said it. And he holds the very knob of that bat handle. This one going the other way and through the wickets. Avoita Menchik coming home as Duff. He'll score easily as the throw comes to second. And Kyle Hess knocks in a run and ties the game.
And when you ask any team in the ACC, hey, talk about NC State, the first thing they bring up is great defense. And already the first 2 hitters of the game for Pitt, a couple of plays that, maybe might go down as hit. That ball was hit pretty hard there by Hess, but a couple of plays that I think Elliot Avon's team expects to make. And just like that, the Pitt comes back to tie the game first.
31 RBI on the season for Kyle Hess. And that one was rocketed the other way. That long swing, that's what enables him to get outside the zone and just flick that thing the other way. It's a good time to keep the inning going here, Matt, with Washington stepping in. He had the big bomb for the Panthers last night in their 3-2 loss.
Yeah, and we mentioned Pitt's stats this year, and they don't have anybody, let's say, with 15 home runs. Or Washington Jr. is the kind of guy that can get hot in a hurry and get to that number, right? He's the kind of guy that maybe in a week can hit 3, 4, 5 homers and all of a sudden change the dynamic of this Pitt offense and turn them into a juggernaut. He has that type of capability.
And the official ruling on the Hess knock to bring in Duff is this one pops straight in the air by Washington. Avoita Menchik going to make up for his blunder as they're going to give an error to Avoita Menchik, and that is how Duff will score. So we look at Luca Tresh. I know he was your home run pick today, but you also wanted to note him because of his performance last night.
Yeah, it's gonna go unnoticed, right? You don't get a lot of stats in the stat sheet for what he did in the 8th and 9th inning last night. There were several balls that Tresh kept in front of him that, let's just call it the way it is, 9 catchers out of 10 in ACC would not have kept in front of. So not only is he productive at the plate with his bat, but behind the plate, he is just that backstop that these NC State pitchers trust.
That ball in the dirt, Tresh is tested immediately.
That's great analysis. I knew that was coming,
You did. You always know. It's an amazing thing. It's a gift, really. 1-0 to David Yanni, the 6th-year player for the Panthers. Yanni moving over to second base this year. Had been a shortstop for 5 years. He's having a heck of a season. Leading the Panthers with 11 homers. Great OPS numbers as well.
And what's interesting about Yanni is last night, first couple at bats, NC State, big shift. right? Second baseman was out in the outfield. Shortstop was on the the first base side of second base. And right now, as you see there, completely straight up in the outfield and in the infield. And Yanni had a nice line drive down the left field line. Maybe that has something to do with bringing the shift out.
Skied to left field, just gets into the bullpen. Johnny Butler was giving chase. What are you seeing in this first inning from Sam Highfield?
Yeah, it's really good stuff, right? Really good stuff early. What he needs to do is just execute a little bit more on the corners, right? He's been a little bit too much in the middle, allowing some balls that maybe should have been played defensively, but they were still hit on the barrel, right? That's something you got to keep in mind. So if he can execute a little bit more going forward, he's going to be really good.
Hess was off and running on the hit and run call. Yanni couldn't put it in play.
See there, even that pitch, right? Ahead 2 strikes. They tried to go fastball in against Yanni, where a lot of opposing pitchers try to get him out. That ball creeped back towards the middle and allowed Yanni to at least get his bat on it and live to see another pitch, right? Sometimes it's not always the ball put in play. Sometimes it's just living to see another pitch.
Highfield delivers outside. Hess running. The throw goes into center field. It'll count as another stolen base. A lot of aggressiveness on the base paths from both these teams in the first inning. And as soon as we talk Tresh being a great backstop defensively, he throws that one into center field.
Yeah, tough pitch to throw on, right? So I think Coach Mike Bell said, hey, you know what? You guys are going to go in the first inning, Coach Aven. I'm going to show you what we can do. I got my guy, Kyle Hess, going to go ahead and take second. But that pitch, as you see here from this angle, a little bit in that right-handed batter's box for Tresh to handle and get the throw off. That's going to be really, really tough for the right-handed catcher.
Like the feet didn't quite set straight onto second base either there. I think Hess was a little surprised. I think the hit and run was probably on again, but the pitch was so far outside that Yanni didn't swing at it. So it's only the 3rd stolen base of the year for Hess. As this one's knocked up the middle, splits the infielders. Here comes Hess. The throw home, not in time, it's cut off, and they're going to get Yanni. Between first and second, Yanni trying to be aggressive. Could he get there? He is safe, but he comes off the bag. Unbelievable play there defensively from NC State, and Yanni can do nothing but laugh.
And we've had a very interesting first inning, Kevin. David Yanni, the
back with you, Charles L. Coss Field. David Yanni finished the bottom half of the first with this sequence here. Take us through it, Matt.
Yeah, Yanni stays with the 2-strike pitch, right? Puts it through to center field for the RBI single. But what's very, very interesting, and again, underrated plays that maybe aren't in your step book, is David Yanni going to second base, forcing first baseman Austin Murr to cut that ball off so that there's no play at the plate. Unfortunately, caught sliding off the bag there, getting back. But either way, I think if you ask Coach Mike Bell and his coaching staff, they would say that's really good base running to prevent the possible 3rd out at home plate.
I think that they got him sliding into the bag initially, but it's too bad that his momentum carried him through it. So it would have been impressive for him to get back. Big swing. The first pitch he sees by Torres. Here's Yanni. That's a lot of running for the big fella. It's like, oh well. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, you got me. Yeah, you got me.
Hey, but through all of that, regardless, yeah, you don't keep the inning going, but he's got the 2-1 lead regardless, as Hess did score on the play. And no strike there is the call from the first base umpire on Jose Torres. It looked like he was trying to bunt. Matt Gilbertson does not like that. Mike Bell's coming out as well to have a word.
Yeah, well, Coach Mike Bell saying, how does nobody see that? Right? It looks like that bat was all the way out until the ball passed, and Torres smartly pulls it back once he doesn't make contact, and hey, it's not his fault that the call goes his way.
Mike Bell had a chat with home plate umpire Blake Felix. Craig Barron is the first base umpire that did not call the strike. So the count is even, 1 ball, 1 strike. The pitch is high from Gilbertson. So on something like that, Matt, if you're Gilbertson, we know he's a little animated out there and he was kind of staring in. How do you avoid getting yourself keeping yourself grounded basically in those situations where a call like that doesn't go your way?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing is experience, right? So this obviously isn't his first start. He's been in this position before. But secondly, it's being able to compartmentalize what just happened with what you're trying to do. Right? You can't allow yourself to get so excited over a missed call or a great play that all of a sudden it takes you out of what you do really well. And the consistency that Gilbertson's had this year in multiple starts throughout the year tells me that he's able to compartmentalize the good and the bad and be steady once he puts his hands together to go.
Torres fighting one off to right field over the head of Nico Popa, and Torres motors into second base with a leadoff double. Torres on the year hitting .391 as a leadoff hitter when he leads off an inning, and he starts well here.
Yeah, with the NC State lineup, sometimes with Dunna and Butler and Tresh, Torres somehow leaves your mind, but he is just as good as any of those players at shortstop for NC State, and you see there with the line drive double, one hop off the wall.
9th double of the year for Jose Torres, a guy that we were both really excited to watch play this weekend. The freshman from Baltimore takes his lead off second. Terrell Tatum steps into the box. The lefty from Tennessee squares the bunt. He gets one down. Finney trying to make a play, and Tatum beats it out. Moving to third on the play is Torres. Runners on the corners for NC State.
Yeah, and we saw it last night where Tatum attempted multiple times to get the bunt down for the hit. He gets that back foot behind the plate, gets a great angle, and puts down a great bunt. Finney, nothing he can really do on that play. Everything was perfect. Getting it with the bare hand, turning to the glove side, and throwing. Unfortunately, the speed of Tatum gets him to first base. NC State first and third with the mound visit. Mike Bell wants to talk it over.
So does this go back to maybe Gilbertson being upset about that initial sequence? Mike Bell needing to come out here, calm him down a bit?
Yeah, I think, just like anything else, momentum seems to be going a little bit against Pitt in this half inning, right? So Mike Bell wants to come out, and maybe you can see here he's not really talking to Gilbertson. He's looking left and right. He's talking to his defenders, right? He's just trying to break up the momentum that NC State has so far in this half. Yeah, I don't think that the pitches that Gilbertson has made has shown any sort of frustration leading into pitching. I just think that the rolls just haven't gone his way early, and Mike Bell wants to make sure that, hey, let's remind him of that, and defensively, let's pick him up.
And on the flip side, for NC State, I mean, heck of a job here. Obviously, you get the leadoff double, which helps, but this is what all the coaches we've talked to about NC State have always said about them. Yeah, if they bunt one, in all 9 positions, aside from maybe Luka Tresh, everybody can beat out a ball in the dirt like that, which is exactly what we just saw from Tatum.
Yeah, it makes them really fun to watch, right? It makes all their players incredibly athletic, incredibly good players. And as you said, aside from Tresh, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tatum take off here first and third with nobody out.
Tatum with 10 stolen bags on the year. Voit to Menchik. They're going to check on Tatum. Gilbertson's thinking the same thing. Maybe you're talking a little too loud. He hears you out there.
Yeah, and if I'm Gilbertson, right, if I'm on the mound and I know that my catcher's already been tested twice, yeah, he's thrown one out, but he's been tested twice. I'm changing up my timing and my rhythm. I'm throwing over. I'm trying to do everything I can to give him the best opportunity to throw out that runner.
We've had a couple sarcastic cheers on strike calls ever since that non-strike call on the check swing by Torres from the faithful here. Makes for a nice environment. ACC baseball this Saturday. Menchik, tapper up the middle. Franks flips on to first, and a double play. The run does score. Ties this ball game up at 2, but it clears the bags.
Yeah, and one of the things that Coach Mike Bell talks about all the time is limiting the big inning, right? And if you're Matt Gilbertson in that situation, first and third, nobody out, infield's back, right? You go ahead and get your double play ball. Now nobody on base. You've limited the damage and allowed yourself to stay in the game a little bit longer. Really great job by Gilbertson.
Regardless for Menchik, the run does score and ties the game, so the job is done. And the inning continues. And here's my second home run pick of the day, and that's Devontae Brown. He went 0 for 5 last night, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Outside delivery from Gilbertson evens the count. And this is one of those rare days, actually, Matt, where there's not a ton of wind up here at Charles L. Coss Field. Beautiful day, and usually the wind is whipping, and we got the flag up right now, but when this game started, it was straight down.
Yeah, and those for you who aren't familiar, we're up here on the top of the hill on the University of Pittsburgh's campus, and typically there is a nice, as you said, Kev, a nice jet stream out to right field. Today, not so much. So these guys that we want to hit home runs, they might have to do it themselves.
There's Brown trying to hook one down the line, and man, that flew out of here fast. A line drive. See the flag, a little dead right now. Beautiful 71 degrees in Pittsburgh today. We could use it. Glad to have you with us on this gorgeous day. 2-2 ball game, 1-2 count. Gilbertson for Pitt on the bump, dealing to Devontae Brown with 2 outs in the top of the second. Kevin Wheeler, Matt Iannazzo with you. Grounded to Yanni. Nice scoop in the dirt onto first. Nice defensive play to sit down the Wolfpack in the Looking at Mike Bell here at Charles L. Coss Field. Mike Bell in his 3rd season with his Panther program, Matt, and man, what a turnaround it's been from the team that he took over 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, you got to give Mike Bell a lot of credit for what he's done with this Pitt program, right? Really has built a winner with some of the players from previous regimes, right, and some of his own recruits, and he's just done a really good job of changing the expectations of his team. Example of that, when the regional possible host came out a couple of days ago, the first thing he said to us is, so what? We still got to go out and play, right? Nothing that we can do about it now. We have to go out and play. There was no sense of celebration because he's already been there.
Yeah, he's had that attitude the whole time, and you saw in the graphic 4 College World Series appearances as an assistant at Florida State, but he was also in the College World Series and had experience there with Oklahoma as an assistant and Tennessee as well. So talk about a seasoned guy as we're nearing tournament season here for the Panthers. That's a good guy to have on your side leading your program.
Yeah, and that leads to that mentality, right, of never being too high, never too low. He's been there, right? He's been in programs that have perennially challenged for Omaha, and he's really brought that mentality to this Pitt program, and these players have really fed off it.
Bryce Hewlett, the junior, with a 1-2 count against him against Sam Highfill. Highfill delivers in the dirt this time. Count goes to 2-2. And Matt, you know what it's interesting about Mike Bell is to do it as quickly as he's done it here. Have Pitt number 16 in the country, you know, basically a top 20 team when you talk about regionals being on that list. He's done it with a conglomerate of different guys. Great piece of hitting by Bryce Hewlett, goes the other way with a base knock to start the second. But it's interesting because he's got some grad transfers, he's got guys that were left over from the previous coaching regime, and he's got some guys that he's recruited as well. So it's kind of a mixed bag of personnel that he's brought in and basically made work. It's an impressive job by him.
Yeah, certainly, and oftentimes in college athletics, right, you hear from coaches, hey, when I get my guys on campus, we'll be ready to win. When I get the facilities that I need, we'll be ready to win. That's not what you hear when you talk with Mike Bell. You hear, hey, you know what, they're Pitt guys. Right, we're here, we're playing in the same 90 feet, same 60 feet, 6 inches, we're gonna go ahead and win now. And that mentality has meant a lot to the program and to the players that are holdovers from previous coaching staffs.
You see all the experience in the College World Series and the programs that Mike Bell's been a part of. Of course, was a 20th round pick as a pitcher by the Expos himself back in '95. So he's been at every level of baseball and had experience there. And I think coaching under Mike Martin helps a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Mike Bell was a transfer into Florida State from a junior college, right? And, you know, you're going to see on this Pitt Panther roster just littered with junior college players all over the place. You know, it's one of those things, as you said, success at every level, and that includes the junior college level. And these guys like Brock Franks and Bryce Hewlett, as you see dive back there, were junior college players that have come in and have done very well right away.
JUCO guys out there for Pitt making it happen right now. Brock Franks at the dish, Hewlett on first base. Delivery from Highfill is up and away. He's behind on Franks, now 3-0. And I was joking with you earlier. You know, you asked Mike Bell about Brock Franks. That's your guy this week. That's who you wanted to spotlight.
Yeah, Brock Franks is a lot of fun to watch, right?
Yeah.
Love it. I've seen him hit home runs. I've seen just quality at bats, but defensively, what he does at shortstop has just shored up this Pitt Panthers team. It allowed longtime shortstop David Yanni to move over to second base, right? It's just shored up the middle of the field for this Pitt Panther defense that coming into the series was the 3rd best in the ACC.
The 3-1. Lifted to right field. It's carrying. Brown looking directly into the sun and makes the play this time. Franks goes down on the pop-up. Yet a couple weeks ago, Brock Franks made an unbelievable diving catch in left field from his position as shortstop. He was basically right behind the second base bag, and there was a high pop-up toward the left field line, and he got from second base to the left field line and basically made a Superman diving catch.
Yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable, and he's one of those guys that he's so good defensively that whatever he gives you at the plate is just bonus, right? And has really shored up this really, really good Pitt Panther defense.
Checking on Hewlett again is Sam Highfill. One out, bottom 2, Jackson Finney to the plate for the Panthers. The catcher today. Elliott Avent, you want to talk about experience. This guy's got a ton of it. Look at that career record. Over 1,100 career wins, seventh most among active coaches. And I think he's one of my, I'd put him in the top 5 of favorite coaches to talk to. Entertaining guy.
Absolutely. You mentioned Mike Martin creating programs that have sustained success. Elliott Avent has done the same thing in Raleigh. He has created a program in NC State that year in and year out competes for ACC championships and has churned out top prospects and top players at the major league level like Carlos Rodon, Trey Turner, amongst others.
I feel really concerned with Hewlett over there. He's thrown over multiple times. Elliott Avent, of course, 1,100 plus career wins, but at NC State in his 25th season, he's got 913. Strike in there, make it 1-2 to Finney. Avent got his 900th win earlier this year on April 6th. And a big thing for him, too, he's going to be coaching Team USA.
Yeah, and you could hear it in his tone when we talked to him during the week, Kevin, about when he was named the head coach of that U.S. national team, and his tone kind of came down a little bit. He sounded very, very sincere in how much of an opportunity and how much that meant to him.
He's obviously got an impressive resume at the collegiate level, and he's expanding that to the international ranks now.
Yeah, and those teams, for those of you who aren't aware, those U.S. national teams are just littered with the top prospects of college baseball, right? Anybody that you might see in the top first, second, or third rounds or beyond that are in the college ranks are going to be on that team.
Pop to center by Anderson, and that will end the inning for the Panthers. Not too much action. Tomorrow we'll have the final game of a 3-game weekend series between Wake Forest and Virginia coming to you from Charlottesville. Coverage starts at noon Eastern right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Panthers heading to Wake Forest next weekend. Today they're dealing with NC State. It's been a really entertaining game so far. 2-2 ball game, beautiful day in Pittsburgh. Matt Gilbertson on the hill for the Panthers. JT Jarrett looks at strike one, and I almost called him Link. I almost did. Son of Link Jarrett, Notre Dame head coach, who's had the Irish having a wonderful season this year. Wow, what a pitch there. That thing broke like crazy, just not on target.
Yeah, Kev, we had Notre Dame in town a few weeks ago, and when that team came in, we talked about a lot of the same things we talk about NC State and Pitt. Great defensive team, middle of the order, really, really good. NC State also looks like they'll host a regional out there in South Bend.
For Notre Dame.
I'm sorry, Notre Dame. Yeah,
No,
Notre
you're
Dame.
good.
That'd be weird if NC State was hosting in South Bend.
It would be weird.
A long drive for their fans.
I had to correct you there because you guys didn't allow me to read the promo in my promo voice. It's upsetting. I'll get there at some point. Caught looking. Jarrett sits down.
Yeah, that's that nasty split change right there, Gilbertson, where it almost comes out and almost knuckles tumbling its way to home plate, getting the called third strike there against Jarrett. Always saying 2 straight counts. If you get a called third strike and it's not absolutely dotted on the corners, usually that pitch was super nasty. You see there the break almost from his chin down to his belt. It's a great pitch by Gilbertson.
3rd strikeout for Matt Gilbertson. Lineup turns over now. Austin Murr had a single in his first at-bat. Was 3 for 4 last night. Batting over 400 when he leads off an inning, which as the leadoff hitter happens a good bit. Swipes at this one off the end of the bat. Pops straight up. Brock Franks underneath it.
Yep, another split change there by Gilbertson, clearly working for him today. Tumbles down, gets Murr out on the front foot, flips it over to Franks, and all of a sudden there's 2 outs, nobody on, and Gilbertson looking to finally have one of those clean innings here in the 3rd.
Operating quickly as well. Set to face Tyler McDonough, one of the best hitters in the ACC. In there for a strike. $12 big knocks for Tyler this year. Leads the team, top 10 in the conference. This one cued over the 3rd base bag, and that's fair. Like a cue ball, and McDonough gets a sneaky little double.
Hey, listen, when things are going your way offensively and you're feeling good, you get things like that happen. I bet everybody's seeing, oh, that had to be ball pulled. Even McDonough there, you see him, I think his first look was out to right field, and all of a sudden just squips right by a diving Sky Dove, and he gets to second base with probably the softest hit double he'll have all year.
This pitch in the dirt, McDonough flirting with taking 3rd, doesn't go. Johnny Butler at the plate. Let's look at that swing one more time. Man, it almost looks like it hit the top of the bat.
Yeah, and
how else does it go that way?
If you see Jackson Finney's head, he looks straight up like it was going to be a pop-up. Very, very interesting. I think he had to have hit it right on the cap of that bat, and the fact that it stayed fair. Hey, it's geometry, right?
Yes, something like that. Physics, geometry,
I don't know.
Something that has to do with people that are smarter than us. Let's look at this one more time. Yeah, the way it comes off, it really does look like you don't see that stuff very often, and from the sound of it, it sounded weird. This one hooked into right field, and a single for Butler. Coming home is McDonough. The throw is cut off, and NC State takes a 3-2 lead.
Yeah, and as soon as the door cracks open for NC State, Butler comes in and knocks it down, right? Gilbertson just 1 out away from getting out of this inning and having a clean 3rd, and the squib double leads to an RBI opportunity. Butler takes advantage. The line drive to right.
Here's Johnny Butler hitting in the 370s. That continues his hitting streak, extends it to 7 games now. And immediately concerned is Gilbertson. All right, here's your home run pick. Luca Tresh. Step into the plate.
Absolutely.
Ground out back in the 1st inning.
And if you're Gilbertson, right, this is one of those games with the first 3 innings. I've been there many times. In fact, on this mound many times, where you kind of have to roll your eyes a little bit because NC State really hasn't hit anything that hard. Nothing has really left the yard. Maybe besides the Torres double was hit really, really hard. Obviously, the hit by Butler was hit well, but nothing that really means 3 runs in 3 innings. So you have to go back to your game plan and know that, hey, you're pitching pretty well. Your stuff's been good. Nothing has been really squared up all that great. And over time, you'll get back into this ball game. You can't make adjustments just because your first 3 innings, maybe a couple of things didn't go your way in terms of luck.
Two outs, top third, runner on first, 0-2 count to Luca Tresh, a top prospect for the MLB draft this year. Another throw over. Johnny Butler, in case you're wondering, 10 stolen bags on the year, hasn't been caught yet. There's reason for Gilbertson to check on him. Pitch out there, so they really thought Butler was going.
Yeah, Pitt on the same page. That's a good opportunity to run. 2 strikes, cleanup hitter up. On the terms of if you are safe, now you're in scoring position for your cleanup hitter, right? If you're out, Tresh gets a brand new count. So, you know, there's really no loss in going for the stolen base here.
A little early, and he just gets a piece of it. Staying alive, Luca Tresh. 11 multi-hit games this year. And a 14-game on-base streak for the sophomore. It's really his first full year of action. He's caught every single game this year because, for good reason, he sat behind Patrick Bailey a year ago. Patrick Bailey, the catcher that went 13th overall in the draft last year, coming out at NC State.
Yeah, something in the water behind the plate there for NC State the last few years. And if you're Luca Tresh, who better to learn from than a top first-round pick for a couple of years? Credit to him for allowing himself to have the opportunity to learn. Too often now we see guys say, hey, you got a first-round pick in front of you, let's go ahead and transfer out to a place I'll play right away. It's worked out for him, sitting back, learning from Bailey for a couple of years, and now has vaulted his way to the top of the first round as well.
Count 2-2, and we asked Elliot Avent about Luca Tresh, and he said, I'm really surprised that he's been producing what he's been able to do, both offensively and defensively, because a lot of the things that he does requires a lot of experience, which he didn't really have until this year.
Right, it's a testament to when he's not playing, when he's sitting the bench, he's paying attention, right? He's watching, he's learning from the pitchers, he's learning from Bailey, he's working in the cage when he's not in the lineup every day. It's something that young guys out there can really learn a lot from.
And we'll get into this as we move through the game, but one of the biggest things Elliot Avent said about Luca Tresh as a catcher is, you know, he's a sophomore, third-year sophomore. One of the best things about him is the way he handles the pitching staff and how he communicates with them, which usually takes a lot of experience, a lot of reps to get there. This one into the gap in right field and cut off by Popa. They will hold Butler at third. Runners on the corners, Tresh with a single.
Yeah, Gilbertson trying to go down into the dirt there to get Tresh on the swing and miss. Misses up a little bit towards the belt, and Tresh makes him pay with the single to right center.
Just stayed with it, and that was a heck of an at-bat, Matt. He fouled off a number of pitches a few times. Just got a piece of it to stay alive.
Yeah, we talk about it a lot, mostly with leadoff hitters, maybe guys that hit in the 2-hole, right? The more pitches you foul off and the more pitches you see, the better your chances of that pitcher of making a mistake. And Tresh is really the beneficiary there of waiting for Gilbertson to make a mistake.
So Tresh now with a 15-game on-base streak. Torres had a double back in the second inning, ended up scoring a run. Pops straight up to Popa in right. And and he puts it away. NC State takes the lead in the. It's been a crazy year for the NC State Wolfpack. They started 4-9 at the beginning of the year, 1-8 in conference play. Since then, NC State is 20-5, 14-5 in conference, and they're on fire recently, Matt, winning 8 of their last 9.
Yeah, and even on a longer stretch, they've won 20 of their last 25. They're finally healthy, right? This team did not get off to the start they wanted to, and Coach Elliott Avent will be the first one to tell you, hey, listen, I didn't know what we had, right? They had some COVID stoppages. They had some guys that maybe had some aches and pains at the start of the year, and now they're finally healthy, although a little bit shorthanded on the pitching mound. They're finally the team that they were predicted to be in the preseason.
Really streaky team to get to this point. It's really impressive to be sitting 24-14, 15-13 when you start 1-8. And obviously there was a lot of challenges. You mentioned the COVID, you mentioned some of the injuries that they've had, and they're kind of fighting back from. But we mentioned that to him, and he was like, yeah, we just, we were trying to figure it out. A lot of it was figuring the team out, because those first 9 games in ACC play, they were all at home.
Right.
First 3 series, and Elliott Avent said, he's like, we looked up and we're 1-8. We played everything at home. It's like, well, we got to pick it up somewhere.
Right, and the college baseball media saying, hey, listen, NC State's returning almost everybody.
Yeah.
And Elliott Avent said, hold on, everybody except for this guy, Patrick Bailey. I don't know if you ever heard of him, right? Except for a top first-round pick.
Sure.
So, when you're putting the pieces together, guys, especially college-age players, are going to be a little different year to year. They're working on things. They're going to be starting to be pitched differently, right? The scouting report gets out on some of these younger players. So, if NC State gets into the tournament, which right now it looks like they will, this is one team that I don't think any of those 1 seeds, any of those regional hosts, are going to want to see in their regional.
Duff did not go. NC State was a preseason number 13. And they're sitting here unranked, but I think you could easily argue, Matt, is they're the last ACC team right now projected to be into the national tournament. What you said is true. Strike 2 is dealt to Duff. No,
yeah, let's say
a little low. My bad.
No. Yeah, let's say they get in, right? We see here their tournament resume. Let's say they get in and they're on the 3 line in somebody's region out of 4 teams, right? If you're the number 1 seed in that region and you have NC State on the 3 line, you pretty much have 3 top teams, and this is a team that could easily, talent-wise, be a number 1 seed. If they had just maybe, let's say, flipped their streaks and started the season as hot as they are now, they would have been up in the top 4 or 5 teams in the country.
Duff cues one to left field, and it splits the outfielders. It'll go all the way to the wall. Duff slides into second safely, and again, the double machine. Sky Duff sliding in.
Yeah, Sky Duff gets the Panthers started here in the 3rd inning by lining that ball to the opposite field, right? Left-handed hitter staying with that pitch. You see that head down, driving it out there. Butler takes an aggressive angle to try and cut off and keep Duff at first base. Fortunately, ball gets past him, and Duff able to get into second base.
th double on the year. See the Panthers when they lead off. Yesterday, 4 for 9 when they begin an inning. Today, the leadoff guy on base every inning.
And you talk about what coaches, any coach that you talk about, what do you do when you're successful? What do you do when you're not successful? And one of the first things that's always brought up is leadoff hitter out. Right? If we can get more guys on base to lead off an inning, we're going to be successful. And then conversely, on the mound, if we can get more guys out to lead off an inning, we're going to be successful. You would think with those stats that Pitt would be successful so far in this series, but they lost. They dropped game 1 and already down here 3-2 in game 2. You have to think at some point these stats will show and that pendulum will shift towards the Panthers.
The middle of a 2-0 count with Nico Popa. Very experienced Nico Popa, a runner in scoring position. NC State will chat it over with Sam Highfield. It's the first mound visit we're seeing from the Wolfpack today.
Yeah, and you don't typically see a mound visit in the middle of a count. That is very interesting. I have to say I'm not too sure what the conversation is. Maybe it's changing up the signs with a runner on second. This might not be just a conversation with Highfield based on the count and a runner on second base.
Highfield riding a 4-game win streak individually. His last start was a win at Wake Forest where he went 5, gave up 6 earned runs, but struck out 9 on 118 pitches, which is a theme you'll see with Elliott Avent and this team this year. Is he's going to let his starters roll with a little bit of a thin bullpen, and he's still trying to figure out what he has back there and who he can rely on in the bullpen. He's going to let the starters roll a little bit. Highfield up to 47 pitches as Popa fouls this away.
Yeah, and we asked, hey, what's one thing that if you get it, you know you're going to have a great weekend? And he's mentioned depth of his starters, right? If his starters go deep and he only has to use, let's say, 2, 3, or 4 bullpen arms throughout the weekend, he knows that it was a pretty good weekend for his club. And he got it last night with Johnston. And he's looking to get it again with Highfield today.
Just off the end of the bat, Highfield fields, he slips, but still makes the throw for the out. And a nice job by Duff advancing to third. Talk about the guy who epitomizes Gritzberg. That's how you pull it off.
Yeah, absolutely. Great base running there by Duff, but a really, really great defensive play by Highfield. He lets Torres come in and make this play. I'm not sure if they get, but it actually looks like that was the third baseman Menchik. If he lets Menchik come in and make that play, I'm not sure if he gets the speedy Popa down at first base. So he gets up, makes the play, but you see there Duff smartly sliding into third as soon as the throw into first.
Hess, big swing, fouls it off. Hess had the liner through the legs of Menchik back in the first inning. Stole a base and scored a run. Panthers 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position.
And I mentioned when you talk to coaches, hey, what are a couple of things that when you accomplish it, you know you're going to be successful, right? One of those is leadoff hitters out. One of them is getting leadoff hitters on. Another one is runner on third, less than 2 outs. Your percentage of getting that run in is huge, right? And this is one of those situations. You have your middle of your lineup up with a runner on third, less than 2, with the infield back has to come through and drive this run in. The Panthers want to be successful.
It seems like such an easy concept to us laymen, if you will. Just lift the ball to the outfield. You get it in. You get the run in.
Yeah, I get that. Listen, I totally get that. But I would like to get all, as you said, laymen into the batter's box and face Highfield see if you feel the same way.
Great job by Highfield, covering first, gets over to get Kyle Hess. That thing almost squirted into right field. Sky Duff scores on the play.
Yeah, really good play by Highfield, getting over. Another great defensive play by him by getting over to first base. And Hess, let's not take for granted the hustle out of the box. He might have got there. Umpires are possibly taking a look to see if he was safe.
Oh yeah, it was Highfield's leg on the bag, and they're going to take a look.
Yeah, this is one of those situations for those of you out there unfamiliar. In college baseball, the umpires can just say, hey, you know what? That was close. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Doesn't need to be a challenge or anything like that at this level. They want to make sure they get the call right.
So we're looking at Highfield's leg on the bag. Did it come off? This might be our best look here. I think he got him, Matt. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he got back on. I think that's a tough play. You say, hey, well, why didn't he just stop and field the ball like a first baseman? Well, typically, you would, as a pitcher, you're receiving that ball as a flip from the first baseman. That's a throw from Jarrett in short right field. And I'm sure as he's sprinting over to first base, he's just saying, hey, I don't want to trip. I want to make sure I stay on my feet and make this call. So, that's why it looks a little bit awkward on that play.
It did come off momentarily, but it's a nice job by our crew right there. Looks like look at that, he did the toe drag. Maybe he's like a second baseman. Maybe that's what it is, a little toe drag action.
I love it. Great camera work there by our team. And this is one of those where we talked about it last night, that if a replay takes a certain amount of time, there really isn't maybe anything there that's showing the umpiring crew that they need to change the call. This might be one of those where, hey, they're taking an extra look, but from what we see there, I don't think there's anything to change the call.
Seen a lot of soft contact off of Highfield today. Some weird ones too, honestly. And you could consider Hess really is the only guy that really had hard, solid contact on that ball that went through the wickets of Menchik way back in the first inning.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes from just the stuff of a pitcher, right? When you have high-level stuff, whether you're throwing hard, late movement, or both, mix that with a breaking ball or a changeup. A lot of times, when you're getting that soft contact, it's telling you that your stuff is just really, really good.
Hess is out. Hey, we're 100% today, Matt.
There we go.
We got it.
There we go. Only the third inning. Only the third inning.
A lot of time left to screw this up for us, for sure. So Hess goes down. Again, the run scores. That was Sky Duff. Evens the game at 3 in the bottom of the third. 2 outs. Number 23 up to bat now, Ron Washington. Popped out to the third baseman in the first inning. Had a home run last night. Swinging on the first pitch, he fouls it off.
Yeah, I like attacking the first pitch after the break too, right? So the umpires go in, take a look at the call. Let's say it took a couple of minutes. Maybe it knocks Highfield off of the groove that he was in. I like attacking the first pitch as a mentality for Washington Jr.
Looks at that pitch for a ball. So you mentioned that Highfield's going to drop his arm every so often. Hey, I haven't seen it a ton, but you're keen on that more than I am. And he dropped it right there as I say it.
That is just astute analysis there for you, Kevin. It's something that you might see second or third time through the lineup, right? First time through the lineup over the top, and he's showing all his stuff. Second time, he's like, hey, by the way, I also do this. Maybe a little bit of a surprise. See, he does it again there, almost a frisbee type slider for strike 3, and he gets Washington on a really good pitch, but not before the Panthers come back and tie the game going into the fourth.
Matt Gilbertson in a 3-3 tied-up ball game here, and Matt Iannazo, the former Pitt pitcher, here in the booth with us. You mentioned he's got a really interesting pitch, a split change. Can you tell us what that is and why it's important?
Yeah, absolutely. So what Gilbertson does really well is mix his speeds and throw different pitches, right? And one of those is a split change. And the split change is typically is a little bit of a mix of both his splitter and his changeup, right? You mostly see splitters thrown like this. Right in between your index finger, your middle finger, and the ball comes out in a very fork ball, it drops off the table that way. Or you see a changeup that's thrown with more of your hand on the ball, real circle change to try and slow that pitch down. How Gilbertson throws it is actually a mix of both, where it's in between that ring finger and that middle finger, attempting to take some spin off the ball and have it really drop more than maybe gravity would just allow the ball to drop. And that's what makes the pitch more successful. It really tumbles out of his hand, similar to a fork ball would.
So with your fingers split like that, we've seen Gilbertson here kind of put the ball next to his leg before every single delivery. Why do that?
Yeah, it's great. That's a great point, because it's going to be really hard to get to, right? If the ball's in your glove and you put your hand in, and every time you throw the split change, you're digging around, the hitter's going to see that, especially as quality hitters as you have at NC State. So when you start with the toughest pitch to get to in your glove, it's a lot easier to shift to the fastball or to the breaking ball, so there's less movement in his glove. You see there, he's digging right into that hip so that he can start with the hardest pitch to get to in his arsenal.
What's the best time to go to this pitch?
Absolutely great. It's really any time for him. You see 0-2, he might be going to it. Yeah, that's it right there, right? 0-2 to put the hitter away, but I've also seen him be very successful on the first pitch, where he knows that if he can throw it in the zone, because of how funky the pitch is, the hitter's most likely just going to take and not want to attempt at that pitch, hoping the next one might be a fastball or a more hittable pitch.
Yeah, of course, it's always a juxtaposition of, you know, the off-speed stuff to the fastball. How effective is the off-speed stuff? Well, it kind of matters what your fastball's doing that day too, right? And
absolutely.
look at that. As we're talking here, we're breaking it down, and Tatum takes Gilbertson deep.
Absolutely there. Tatum gets the 1-2 pitch and drives it over the fence in left center. Just a really good swing by a player that can be boom or bust, right? He has a lot of singles, a lot of home runs on the year, and another one for Tatum.
7th home run on the year. Here's the pitch.
It looks like he actually goes breaking ball as opposed to the split change we were just talking about, and hangs it up there just a little bit and allows Tatum to get enough of the pitch and hits it out to left center.
And that just squeaked out over that wall. That's a lot of power from Tatum, too, to take that pitch the other way over the tall wall out there and left. And he didn't have a lot of wind at his back either. The wind was going left to right that time.
Yeah, Charles O'Cost Field, you see there that 375 sign in left center where the ball went out. That fence really goes directly to center field where it's 405 feet. So that's one of the deeper parts of the park that a left-handed hitter is able to go backside out of there. It shows a lot of potential power.
So Gilbertson with 4 runs on the board for NC State today. Give me an evaluation of Gilbertson and what he's done today with this highly touted NC State lineup.
Yeah, I think the word is frustration, right? He's had pretty good stuff. He's shown flashes of being really, really good. And some balls really haven't been hit all that hard and have caused runs, right? In the first inning, it was a strikeout that a run ended up scoring on. So, you know, his stuff has been pretty good. This is just one of those days where if you pitch for long enough, if you play for long enough, you're going to have one of these days. It's his job to keep his team in the game. He has to pretend like it's 1-0. Right, that he hasn't given up 4 runs, that it's just, hey, it's 1-0 in the 4th inning. That's what he has to convince himself in his head and try to get some depth into this game, 5th, 6th, 7th inning, maybe if it's not the preferred amount of runs.
Tatum extends a 11-game on-base streak now. He was 1 for 4, 3 strikeouts last night. Today gets a homer. Gives his team the lead. Here's Menchik. Over to Franks. Franks bobbles it. The throw, not in time. That's what we're talking about with NC State all the time. One little bobble in the infield defense, and they're going to beat it.
Yeah, absolutely. Menchik out of the box, busting it, knowing that ball was going to take Franks into the hole, but if you're Gilbertson, right, the frustration continues to mount. You made a good pitch. You got a soft ground ball, but something you don't see hardly ever. Franks making the error at shortstop, allowing NC State to get another run around with nobody out.
All right, so we've seen 1 homer. It's Tatum. Neither of us picked him today.
Yeah, this is your guy.
This is my pick. We'll see what happens. Got 8 bombs on the year. Devontae Brown, 0 for 5 last night.
Yeah, and you talked about the NC State lineup. If you got a guy like Devontae Brown in the 8-hole, right, you're doing pretty well. This guy would be batting 3, 4, 5 nearly any other team in the country. And, you know, some of the best raw power that you see, and one of the top prep shortstops coming in to NC State, and just a really, really good player. And I know the batting average isn't reflective of that yet, but hey, there's still games to play.
Brown was the number 5 shortstop coming out of Georgia. Just sticks the bat out at this one and flicks it out to the outfield. And it's Popa. Easy play. No dice on the home run choice. You know how it's going to go. He's going to hit one tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Here's JT Jarrett. 4 runs for the Wolfpack, all of them earned. 7 hits against Gilbertson.
And I think going back to, if I'm Gilbertson on the mound, a sign that what I'm feeling in terms of my stuff being pretty good and still executing is that Coach Bell has nobody warming up in the pen, right? You got nearly 60 pitches here in the 4th inning. 4 runs have been given up. He's still Pitt's best option. And Mike Bell in the dugout is seeing the same thing that we're seeing up here, is he's throwing good pitches. It's just been one of those frustrating days so far.
Plus, you have to talk about the fact that the Pitt offense is doing its job too. If this was a 4-0 game, you're looking at this entirely differently.
Absolutely.
Throw on to first. Not in time. Trying to catch Menchik sleeping.
Wow. Holy smoke.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about yet ways to limit the aggressiveness of NC State. One of those ways is back picks, like you see right there by Finney. Making one way that teams are aggressive is because they think they know what's going to happen and they want to be the one to take the first step. When you bring some sort of indecisiveness to an aggressive player, it takes away a little bit of that aggressiveness, and back picks, pickoffs, changing of timing can take away some of the comfortability that these players have and might take some of that aggressiveness away as well.
JT Jarrett right over top of the plate, toes on the inside of that batter's box, and he gets this one over the head of Duff, who was playing in. The throw into third, not in time, and on that throw, Jarrett motors into second. So a huge hit for JT Jarrett as the lineup now turns over to the most dangerous place with Murr, McDonough, and Butler coming up.
Yeah, and if you're Gilbertson, right, you had 1 out, 8-9 in the order coming up. You get a ground ball to shortstop, E6, and then a bouncing ball that somehow gets over the third baseman. If in a normal circumstance, those are out, and you're out of the inning, right? But now he faces himself with runners in second and third with 4 of the top hitters in the ACC coming up in a row, all red hot for NC State.
Gilbertson really just battling through this adversity. Duff still in on the grass at third, and this pitch is high and inside to Murr.
Hey, get some of you drive. Let's go. Get extension. Come on, man.
Hot shot to Hewlett. What a pick.
I think that got stuck in his glove.
And it did. Just lined. What a rope off the bat of Murr, and a heck of a job by Bryce Hewlett, the sure-handed Bryce Hewlett at first.
Yeah, and the game giveth and the game that taketh away, right? A couple of maybe guys that should have gotten out for NC State get on base, and the guy that hits the ball the hardest is out. Tough luck baseball for Murr there, but if you're Gilbertson, you're 1 pitch away. Hasn't been the perfect at it, but you're 1 pitch away from getting out of it.
Bryce Hewlett, man, 1 error this year. You can't get anything past that guy. He's a vacuum over there at first base.
Yeah, gold glove type player. There's no doubt about that, right? He is the guy that he makes the extra stretch when he has to. A really good defensive first baseman can not only make the rest of your infield better, but can make the rest of your team better because they know that they can trust what's happening on that side. Typically, you have a first baseman that maybe is a hitting first type player. That might be a little bit of a liability. Couldn't be different here with Pitt, with Hewlett.
Menchik on third, Jarrett on second after the double. And arguably the most dangerous hitter in the Wolfpack lineup is at the dish. It's Tyler McDonough. Checks his swing, they call it a strike. So he's behind 0-2. McDonough had his 53-game on-base streak end on Tuesday against UNC Wilmington. That was the second longest on-base streak in NC State history and the longest in Division I baseball. To second base, it's Yanni. Clean play to first. NC State down in the inning, but they take the lead on this big fly to left field. Gilbertson fighting through things, and NC State taking the lead in the 4th. NC State and Sam Highfill, they like what they see on the scoreboard right now after the home run by Terrell Tatum at the top of the fourth to give him a 4-3 lead. Huge game today, huge series. Thanks for being with us here on the ACC Network. Kevin Wheeler and the former Pitt pitcher, Matt Iannazzo, with you. Good fans on hand today. Sun, beautiful 70 degrees in Pittsburgh. Got some Penguins jerseys in the crowd. It's playoff time. Senior day here at Pitt as well. And one of the guys that was honored pregame is stepping up now, and that's David Yanni, who's having a heck of a season, arguably his best since becoming a Panther, and he's now in his 6th season. The elder statesman for sure.
Yeah, we didn't mention my second home run pick, and it's David Yanni. Right?
There you go.
Been here long enough. I've seen him put many balls over the right field fence. He's my guy to leave the yard today.
11 dingers on the season. He's got it there. He's got the power. Had an RBI single back in the first inning on kind of a wild play, and then was thrown out on the cutoff throw. That ended the inning. Slow tapper here, and Yanni's down. But I know when that happened, Matt, you said that was the right play. Yanni should be aggressive and try to take second. But then you look back and you see some of the things, the wild ways that runs have been scored here today, and you just wonder at that point if he had stayed at first and you continue that first inning. They were getting to Highfill at that point a little bit. You can't say, like, it's revisionist history at this point. You can't really pull that off. But what I'm trying to say here is you can make an argument for either side of that play.
Yeah, I think that anytime, especially in college baseball, when you have a base runner really rallies, it's kind of like playoff professional baseball where a guy gets on first base, you got to rally, right? And in college baseball, it's kind of the same way. And so there definitely is an argument to be made that anytime you got a guy on base, you want to hang on to it and keep it. But in that situation, Pitt was coming back from already being down. They had been dealt an early blow by Gilbertson giving up a couple of runs. And I think with 2 outs specifically, the risk of the throw not going to home plate and preventing that throw entirely was worth it. I think that Yanni thought that he could get back to first base because nobody was covering it, right? Murr, the first baseman, was the one that actually cut the ball off close to the pitcher's mound. So I think that he fully anticipated that, hey, if the ball's cut off, I can still get back. Unfortunately, the foot race between him and I think it was Torres is not exactly the most fair of foot races
no doubt.
For him to get back.
Hewlett thought that one was low.
Play the game.
And strike
please.
2. He doesn't like it.
That is not a strike. If you want to give me a warning now, give me a warning, please. That is not a strike. Let him take the walk.
Yeah, and we see here we're getting a bench warning, it looks like, for arguing balls and strikes. And this Pitt team has been a little in disagreement with this umpiring crew after the back half of last night's game and into already today.
Mike Bell is fired up. You could hear him from up here. Said that is not a strike, flat out. And the Pitt fans love it too. They're rallying behind their head coach. We'll see if Bryce Hewlett does here with a full count in the bottom of the 4th.
Yeah, and it's one of those things from the dugout, you can't see in and out, right? That ball looks like it's definitely down. But from the dugout, you can see up and down, right? You can't see inside, outside. So that's a pitch where I'm sure Bell is pretty sure that what he saw was not a strike.
Home plate umpire Blake Felix. Here's the pitch again. That's what kind of started the rumbling from Mike Bell in the Pitt dugout.
And you got to give credit to Tresh, right? He easily pulled that ball up and showed a great presentation to the home plate umpire and maybe stealing one. That's another thing that really great defensive catchers do that they don't get credit for in the stat sheet. And he's seen he save a strike there, even though the next pitch was for ball 4.
You know how you're having a well-pitched game on both sides in what weirdly, to me, feels like a 4-3 pitcher's duel. No walks up until that one right there on either side by Bryce Hewlett. Gilbertson with no walks right now. Highfill gives one up. And guys are starting to warm up as Highfill's pitch count is up near 70, which is a little different than what Elliot Avent told us he might be doing. He typically, this year anyway, likes to let the starters roll, and he'll let them go past 100 pitches, which is kind of the benchmark for starting pitchers these days.
Yeah, you don't see that too often, and for NC State, right, with the depth that they've kind of lost on the mound, having deep starting pitching, going deep into games, is one of the most important things for this team if they want to go far, right? So, you know, you have guys like an Andrew Tillery or a Dalton Feeney or an Evan Justice that have good stuff, but those are the guys they rely on to get those outs on the back end. There hasn't been a lot of guys that have put together a great season out of their bullpen.
I mean, basically right now for Elliot Avent, he's going with Villeman, Highfill, Willitson, and Johnson as his starters from the midweek through the weekend, and then it's Evan Justice, and everybody else is just trying to separate themselves.
Right, and Villeman put together a great start during the week against UNC Wilmington. I think he went 8 innings, so he might not even be available today. He might only be available tomorrow for Avent's NC State club. So they might be even thinner than what they previously thought they were going to be coming into the weekend.
Yeah, Villeman had 12 Ks on Tuesday against UNCW, and that's a drop-down arm angle there by Highfill. Brock Franks swung at this one off the end of the bat. McDonough puts it away. Hewlett back to first. And the crazy thing about all these guys, too, is they're all young. You know, here's 3 young guys right here, Villeman being on there, Highfill, Willitson. And they're just working through that experience. You look at some of those numbers, and you know, ERAs above 4 are never the best, but the strikeout to walk ratios are pretty good for all 3 of those guys, which tells you a lot.
Yeah, certainly, and something to think about with those ERAs is Coach Avent knows that he's thin, right? So he might be pushing these pitchers a little bit further than maybe he would have if he knew he had some backup behind him. So maybe some of those ERAs are a little bit more inflated than they would be, but the future is certainly bright on the mound for the Wolfpack. As all 3 of those freshman pitchers just have absolutely draft-eligible stuff in a couple of years.
I know that Elliot Avent told us that Sam Highfill would go 3/4 arm, but that was like submarine, that one.
Yeah, he's getting down there. He's getting down there. And when I pitched, I would do that as well, and I would do it too. Again, I was left-handed pitchers. I would always want to show something different to the hitter the second or third time through. Make the hitter maybe have a little bit of pause and make them think a little bit more of, hey, what's he really trying to do out there? I would advise, if I was a pitching coach of NC State, is at some point, though, he has to believe that his stuff over the top is good enough to get outs. And if he wants to be a starter long term, I would say staying up over the top might be better, because his stuff from over the top is top notch. And I would hate for any sort of dropping of angles to lose the feel that he has over the top.
This one cranked by Jackson Finney deep to left field and gone.
Jackson Finney, the freshman catcher, puts a charge into that one right on cue as he leaves the yard and puts the Panthers ahead 5-4.
I believe that's the first career big fly for Jackson Finney.
His teammates are fired up for him, and they have to be, right. Seizing the opportunity has not been the everyday catcher so far this year for Pitt, and Jackson Finney makes him pay with the home run.
That thing was way out of here, and he knew it immediately. Bryce Hewlett loved it. Brock Franks, tons of energy from that Pitt dugout. First homer this year, and Pitt has the lead. Talking big-time arm angle going into that with Highfill, and Jackson Finney just shut us up fast. He was like, none of that nonsense. I'm taking this guy deep.
Absolutely a great swing from the freshman, and he's a guy, in talking to Coach Bell, that he really has potential to be truly great throughout his time at Pitt, and just a freshman on campus getting an opportunity and really making the most of it.
Well, of our home run choices, Jackson Finney was pretty low on my list. And he gives Pitt the lead here in the 4th. I think what I'm noticing here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and please do, but what I'm starting to notice here is Pitt going deeper into these at-bats with Highfill the second time through the order here.
Yeah, and as you see a pitcher more and more, and you see this a lot, which is why a lot of times starters in today's age in baseball only see the lineup 2, maybe the 3rd time around, is because you start seeing the ball better. But Highfill able to bounce back there and get Anderson on the strikeout, but not before Finney goes deep. And Pitt takes the 5-4 lead headed to the 5th.
5-4 ball game here at Charles L. Coss Field, taking you through what's happened so far. That was Kyle Hess with the ball through the wickets in the first inning, avoids a Menchik, and then David Yanni brings in an RBI. So Pitt had a 2-0 lead there. Then in the 3rd, this one lined in. That was McDonough with the score. Then in the 4th, the big fly. Terrell Tatum, deep to left. What we just saw, Jackson Finney, the freshman catcher, with a massive shot to left field, 430 feet, 106 off the bat from Jackson Finney. He cranked that thing. That pitch coming from Sam Highfill. So it's a 5-4 game in favor of Pitt right here. McDonough with a double, Tatum with the solo home run, of course, Jackson Finney with the homer, and Sky Duff, the double machine. Gilbertson, the starter for the Panthers, still out there on the mound. Through 4 innings, 4 earned.
Yeah, not the type of game we expected coming in, right? We expected maybe a pitching and defense with some power sprinkled in here or there. What we've gotten has been some deeper counts, some guys on base, and a couple of misplays defensively. We've gotten a little bit of different baseball than maybe we expected, but either way, Pitt up 1 here in the 5th.
Here's Johnny Butler. He had an RBI single in the 3rd that we showed you. Quickly behind 0-2. Johnny Barrels, as his teammates call him. Now a 7-game hit streak. And how about this for a stat for you? Johnny Butler, when he leads off an inning, .556 batting average entering this series. It's outrageous.
Yeah, that'll get the job done. I mean, hey, listen, you're leading off. Your job is to get on base, whether you're batting 3rd, 4th, or 5th in the lineup the first time through. When you're leading off an inning and getting on base nearly just over half the time, yeah, that's getting the job done.
Butler has steadily improved over his career as you look at some of his ACC ranks this year. And he scores a lot of runs. He's getting on base a lot, obviously. A .447 OBP is tied for 8th in the conference. You see he's slugging well, batting well. When he was a sophomore, he bat .267. As a junior, .290. This year, much better than that. .378.
Yeah, oh yeah, and that's a testament. Again, we talked about it with Tresh. But it's a testament to the program that Coach Avent has built at NC State, right? When you come on campus, you might be a great player then. You wouldn't be if they don't recruit you, right? But by the time you get to your draft eligible years, your junior, senior year, you are going to be quite significantly better than you were when you came on campus, and there couldn't be a more telling sign of that than the 3-4 hitters of NC State and Butler and Tresh.
Round 1 out. Come on.
I think the thing I like the most in our conversation with Elliot Avent when we were talking about Johnny Butler is, he said, we talked about this earlier too, that he goes unnoticed. But the reason that he goes unnoticed in this lineup is not for anything more than he's just not flashy. He's just out there doing his job. He's not going to get noticed like a guy like Tyler McDonough, who goes second to home on a bunt, basically. You never see that. Here's this one lofted into left. Easy play for Kyle Hess.
Yeah, and what he mentioned is that he just makes the game look easy, right? He's out there, he does all the right things all the time, and he's always in the right place. And he's the type of guy that in the middle of your lineup, every great team really needs. A guy that everybody can build around, and unfortunately not able to get on base there. But truly, truly one of the best players in the ACC.
Luka Tresh looks at ball 1.
Come on, Luka, get yours. How do you, boy? Go on, Luki.
Talked earlier about Luka Tresh. Spent 2 years watching Patrick Bailey. Drafted 13th overall to the Giants in 2019. Elliott Avent was surprised. He has been surprised by the production of Luka Tresh, and you see him, he's risen very quickly to the leaderboard for Kylie McDaniel's top ACC draft prospects. At number 45, Luka Tresh shows up there. That's some great company he's got around him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. You see also NC State player Jose Torres down there, 83. You know, this player, Luka Tresh, at the beginning of the year in the ACC, although the team wasn't winning, he was truly one of the best players in the country. He was on fire, putting up Ruthian numbers, really hitting a home run nearly every other game, it seemed like. Has gone into a little bit of a slide heading into their bye week a few weeks ago, but absolutely vaulted up those draft boards with that performance earlier in the year.
2-2 is fouled away, and yeah, you're right, and it was almost every game. The first 8 games of the year, Luka Tresh hit 7 big flies, 7 homers in 8 games. Since then, he's only had 1 in the next 30. That 1 home run, though, Matt, came on Tuesday against UNCW, so maybe he's finding that stroke again, that big fly stroke at the right time.
Yeah, and you might ask yourself, hey, well, how does that happen? Right? How do you go from 7 home runs in 8 games to 1 in your last however many? And the answer is a couple-fold, right? When you're catching every single day, right, that wears on your body. That's why over time you see in the big leagues some of the best hitting catchers end up playing a different position by the time that they retire. But secondly, as you see right there, you're starting to get pitched differently. Now everybody knows the name Luka Tresh, and they're throwing nasty pitches like that, and it's very hard to put up that type of production when you're getting pitched that tough.
Just a wonderful pitch from Gilbertson. Now with 4 strikeouts on the day. Talking about those draft prospects, it brings up Jose Torres, a freshman who's a bona fide shortstop at the next level. Been described to us that way. Another beautiful pitch from Gilbertson. Nice job framing by Finney, but they do not get the call.
Yeah, I love watching Jose Torres, one of my favorite players to watch in the ACC. And, you know, I'm not a huge fan of player comps, but when I watch him, I'm a Yankees fan. I see a lot of Xander Bogaerts. I see a player that can hit, can field, can do everything. And the way Bogaerts has come through for Boston the last couple years, you know, Torres might be kind of following those footsteps.
I think he'd take that comparison. Check swing called a strike on the last pitch. 1-2, 2 outs, top 5. Gilbertson the delivery. Stays alive. Torres had an oblique injury earlier in the year, and it was kind of a weird situation on Tuesday against UNCW. He actually felt like he tweaked it on Tuesday. And so Elliott Avent said, all right, we're going to rest you tonight. We'll bring you in if we need you on defense, which they did. He was not supposed to swing the bat at all, but he had to come up to bat. It's just the way the situation went. Fouls another one away, and he was basically, Elliott Avent said, hey, just take 2 strikes and, you know, do what you want to do on the next pitch. You can swing or bunt, whatever you need to do. But on the previous at-bat, there was a home run hit, so they didn't want to bunt. So they end up walking him on 3 pitches. And it was just interesting to hear that whole saga from Elliott Avent on Tuesday. But, you know, he said coming into the weekend that he felt great, and he's been playing for 2 days and looks pretty good with that double earlier in the game.
Yeah, it's one of those unwritten rules of baseball, right? Once you're up a certain amount of runs, typically it's the amount of runs in the inning that you're in later in the game. So if you're up 8 in the 8th, 9 in the 9th, something like that, you don't want to bunt. It sends a bad message, especially in those midweek games against, I think they were playing UNC Wilmington, and they'll play them home and home, I'm sure, every season until in the foreseeable future. And Coach Avent, being the professional that he is, didn't want to make UNC Wilmington feel like they were adding insult to injury. So he said, hey, as you said, take 2 pitches and see what happens after that. And fortunately did work the walk, didn't have an opportunity to swing, but just goes to the professionalism in that dugout for NC State.
Torres battling against Gilbertson right now. And that's a scary thing for Elliot Avent and Jose Torres, really, because they've basically played 9 guys all year long. And, it's because those 9 guys are really good.
Yeah.
You probably have somebody decent behind Torres, but it's hard to compare whoever they have next on that roster list to Jose Torres and the skills that he brings to the table. Just battling hard here. One of the better at-bats of the day.
Yeah, that was one of those things that Coach Avent said in jest, right? He said, hey, we've only played 9 players all year, and then he waited a second and he said, those 9 guys are pretty darn good, though. And we all laughed, and it's a good time, but it's a really telling sign of just the depth that maybe isn't there this year for NC State, but those 9 guys, they play every day. I mean, they're the tops in the country.
Way inside, that breaking ball got away. And you talk about their start, too. 1-8 to start ACC play, right? And they're on a heck of a tear since then. 14-5. 3 sweeps, 2 against ranked opponents in that period of time. And he said that he's just really proud of his guys. With the lack of depth and how thin they really are, to battle back from that and be able to put themselves in a position now to basically make the national tournament is an impressive job. Pops straight up. This one's going to get out of play.
Yeah, certainly, and I think on paper it looks streaky, right? On paper it started cold and now they're hot. But if you ask specifically Elliot Avent and the team and the coaches that he has in that dugout, say, hey, are you hot right now? They say, no, we're the team that we're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. This is the team that we were expected to be at the beginning of the year, and we're finally healthy and ready to be that team. So, heading into postseason time, there isn't a better time for this team to kind of round into form.
Just a beautiful at-bat from Torres, and works a walk on 11 pitches, and he looks over to the dugout and gives himself a hand.
Yeah, just great at-bat. And if you're Gilbertson, right, 2 outs, nobody on, you allow a walk there, but you threw some really good pitches. You can't allow that to frustrate you, especially with Tatum coming up after his last at-bat.
Tatum with a homer in the 4th. Trying to build on the momentum of that Torres at bat.
Yeah, and if you're Pitt, you can't expect Matt Gilbertson to go much longer. You see up there 92 pitches, but they've been stressful pitches.
Up the middle, easy put out for Franks. Pitt leading 5-4. Step.
And welcome back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You see here Packer and Durham. Get the latest news and information from the ACC each morning with special guests from the world of sports. Packer and Durham weekdays at 7 a.m. Eastern on the ACC Network and the ESPN app.
You looked away from the paper. You almost made it through the whole thing. That was good stuff.
Hey.
I'm trying to get to a point where I don't have to be here anymore. And you can do it all. You're moving through.
Hey. No Vince Scully over here.
No,
okay.
No. Well, nobody is, right?
Right?
We got a new pitcher, though, Matt, so it's your time to shine once again. We got Andrew Tillery taking the mound here for NC State as Sam Highfield's day is done.
Yeah, the right-hander Andrew Tillery here coming in with a little bit of a bloated ERA at 9.39, but hey, really good stuff from the right side that we're going to see. See that breaking ball there, and we're going to see that 90-so-mile-an-hour fastball from him. Excited to watch him throw against the top of the Pitt lineup.
7th appearance for Tillery. So Highfield's day is done. 4 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned. 1 walk and 4 Ks. 3 extra base hits allowed and 76 pitches for the day, which this is a different thing that we're seeing from NC State. This is kind of the opposite scouting report that we got heading into the week from Elliott Avent. He said he likes to let his starters roll this year, which typically in years past, 25th season at NC State, is not the way that he would operate. But this game here, he's pulling the plug early on Sam Highfill.
Yeah, Highfill looked good. I have to believe and trust what Coach Avent sees in the dugout where, hey, you know what, he wasn't at that, let's say, 100-pitch mark, but what he was seeing said, hey, you know what, let's go on to the next guy and maybe a little bit earlier than we would have in other weekends, going to the bullpen here in the 5th.
Sky Duff to center. Easy put out for Tyler McDonough. Duff had 2 doubles up to that point. So Tillery, 1 batter, 1 out. Nico Popa, the senior. Senior day here at Pitt today. Popa, David Yanni, among 10 different guys honored before the game today. Popa wanted that pitch. He was all over it.
Yeah, Popa, the Pittsburgh native, just a lot of fun to watch. I mean, he's gonna work really hard. He's gonna slide into bags. He's gonna go the extra mile for this Pitt team and has really been a consistently great player for Pitt over the last 2 or 3 years. He's just the type of player that Pitt wants to mold going forward, and they actually have his younger brother on the team as a freshman, Dom.
Popa with the 8th most starts in Pitt history. Great year this year, 2nd on the team in batting average. This guy he can spray the ball all over the field, and he's found a good power stroke this year too, Matt. He's got 8 homers this year, and that matches his career high for a single season. That happened back when he was 2nd team All-ACC 2 years ago in 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. Hits the ball with authority. He's really come on with power this year, and just has been a consistently great player for Pitt. If Pitt goes far, right, it's because of guys like Popa setting the tone.
Looked like a late timeout call. Tillery was about ready to throw the ball. NC State did not like it. I think one of the coolest moments of Nico Popa's career, and I haven't asked him this, but I would imagine that it ranks up at the top of the list for him, is a couple years ago hitting a home run at PNC Park in a game against West Virginia as a Pittsburgh native.
Yeah, got to be a dream come true, right? Every time he brings his family or goes to the game with his family, they say, hey, by the way, remember when I hit a home run here? Just a really cool moment for him. And playing at PNC Park for all these guys is if you're an NC State fan, typically Pitt will play West Virginia over at PNC Park, the stadium for the Pittsburgh Pirates, yearly, and it's just a dream come true for a lot of these players who have never played at a major league facility. And just really cool, and that type of home run really sticks with you. I remember my freshman year, I actually started against Duquesne when they had a program at PNC Park, and was one of my favorite moments of my college career.
Popa almost beat it out to the eye. It looked really close. It's called out. And a good throw from Torres deep in the hole at shortstop.
Yeah, it just shows that great effort, right? A routine ground ball to shortstop, and Popa nearly beats it out. Just a really, really, really good play.
Oh, tight bang play there. Great camera work. Kyle Hess, a Pennsylvania native. One of the bigger recruits that Mike Bell has brought here. Hard contact, just foul. 5-4, bottom 5. 2 outs in the inning. Kevin Wheeler, Matt Iannazzo with you here on the ACC Network. Pitch is outside. NC State took game 1 last night in a 3-2 final. Winning run was scored by Austin Murr on a wild pitch by C.J. McKenna of Pitt. And it's been a pretty crazy game here today, too. Runs scored in a lot of different unconventional ways, coupled with a couple of big home runs. Jackson Finney with 1 for the Panthers, and on the other side, Terrell Tatum for NC State. Strike 3 to Hess, and a good inning right there for Andrew Tillery. 5-4 Pitt. This is Link and JT Jarrett. JT Jarrett, the second baseman for NC State and a junior for the Wolfpack. His dad, Link, is the head coach at Notre Dame, having a heck of a season. And it's just an amazing thing. These guys compete against each other, and Notre Dame is off this week, so look who's here. Link Jarrett and the family in town here in Pittsburgh, taking it in the sights and sounds of Charles L. Causfield, catching a game, watching his son, who's due up 3rd in this inning.
Yeah, really cool, right? And Link played with head coach of Pitt, Mike Bell, when they were at Florida State. So it's a nice little, I'm sure they went out to dinner maybe last night after the game, and a nice connection of, Link coming to see his son, JT, and also coming to see a college teammate and friend in Mike Bell here at Pitt. It's nice to have those weekends off. You don't usually see that in college baseball.
Pretty sure he's wearing the same hat he was wearing in those photos.
Yeah, if you ever catch me like that, I guarantee I'll be wearing the same hat. There's only a couple. There's only a couple in the closet.
Maybe he'd get on a fishing boat, go out on the river, go on the Allegheny, the Mon.
Better believe it. Yeah, thinking of Link Jarrett and that Notre Dame team, preseason picked to be at the bottom of the ACC and has completely turned around that program to, they're a top 10 program. I mean, they're gonna host a regional coming up here. It's just absolutely unbelievable what he's done in his second year.
Wojciech Menchik with a double down the line, slides into second safely. 5th double on the season for Wojciech Menchik. Seen a lot of these today, Matt. These kind of like tappers down the line.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons why that happens, right? Sometimes your stuff is good, but it's not, let's say, at the level it usually is. And balls that usually go right to guys somehow find holes. That's one. And number 2, sometimes, when you pitch for a certain amount of time, eventually the balls are going to find holes. I mean, that's just going to happen. This is the game that we play in baseball. So this might be one of those days for Gilbertson. The trick, though, is to know that it's going to happen and say, hey, when you're in that situation like Gilbertson is now, how do you keep your team in the game and somehow still give your team an opportunity to win, although it's happening to you?
Devontae Brown had a massive swing on the first pitch of this at bat. We got double barrel action going in the Pitt bullpen. Steven Hansen, Corey Sawyer. Sawyer pitched last night. Hansen, one of the midweek guys for Mike Bell.
Yeah, Hansen's been a midweek guy. He's also had a lot of Sunday starts. While Billy Corcoran was coming back from injury, Sawyer really good from the left side. We saw him last night going in the 3rd without giving up a run. I wonder if Coach Mike Bell is still working to tinker the middle innings, trying to bridge from here we are in the top of the 6th to when we get to McCrum on the back end, who's been so nasty as a closer.
Gilbertson stepped off, wanted new signs. Menchik off second. Crushed into left field by Devontae Brown. That's going to get down. NC State's going to tie this ball game, and Brown is in there at second. David Yanni thought he came off the bag.
Yeah, that's going to be one of those replay outs. It looks like he might have slid and had so much force coming into the bag. The pop-up slide kept him up off the bag, maybe. Well, Yanni kept his glove on. Pitt might be getting a free out here. It's going to be interesting to see.
Brown a little out in front of that swing. As of now, it's his 9th double. Let's take a look. Did he come off the bag? He might have. I don't know, Matt. I think he did.
Yeah,
I'm willing to say it. I think he came off the bag.
Yeah, that's going to be close. Either way, it's something that's taught now. That wasn't maybe taught when I was playing, is when you get a tag on somebody, you hold the tag throughout the duration of the slide, right? You don't. We've seen it already with Yanni sliding past first base, going back, and now him on the other end, possibly holding the tag on for long enough. You teach this now where, hey, until their momentum stops, you hold that tag on.
That's it right there. Great job. Great job in the tape room. And Yanni knew it really fast, too. He basically instantly turned around. Nice job by the umpires. Immediately congregated to get this right. Maybe they didn't want that guy yelling at him again.
Yeah, and you see Bell jumping out right there. He knew it, too. Said, hey, let's go take a look at this thing.
That's having your guys back there at second, too. You know, obviously you see it with your eye, but the reaction from the player nearest to the play typically will tell you what really happened. And Yanni was pretty much exasperated right after that. So Bell jumps up, calls for the review. Devontae Brown can do nothing but wait here. Regardless, it is a tie game.
Yeah, either way, just a really good piece of hitting by Brown, keeping the hands back long enough to hook that ball down the left field line to score men's sheet. But what is really interesting is as we go further into replay here, is what's going to happen with Gilbertson now the game is tied, right? The game is tied at 5 runs here at the top of the 6th, approaching 100 pitches, or actually at 100 pitches. This will give both arms in the bullpen enough time to be completely hot. It'll be interesting to see what Mike Bell does.
And he's safe at second base.
And Kevin, that's why I on purpose don't predict those, right?
Yeah.
It looks like that, and you know, you never know what the ruling might be. I mean, they might have ruled that because the wrist of Yanni was on Devontae Brown, he's safe. As opposed to maybe the rest of the glove. I mean, at this point, I'm not too sure. Because he comes off, and the wrist of Yanni comes right back to the backside of Brown right there.
I'm telling you what, if the call's made because of the wrist and not the glove, that is that is something new. That'll be a new one for me.
Hey. Listen, I just know I grew up. My dad's a basketball referee. Hands part of the ball going up. Hey, you know, there are certain rules and that might take into effect in things like this. But either way, it did look like Brown was off the bag at that point. I'm curious of what they're talking about now.
Yeah.
Because you would think they're talking to Coach Elliot Avent. You would think he had won that replay.
Yeah. Article 14-3, bullet point 7 says that the wrist cannot touch the runner, but the glove might.
Right.
Something ridiculous.
Right. And as we're talking, Devontae Brown coming off.
Oh, they changed the call here. Well, wow. That's all I can say to that sequence.
So they reversed the replay decision.
Okay, so they call him safe on the field. They video review it. They come out. They say Devontae Brown is safe. They talk to Elliot Avent, and then he trots off and he's out. And that's all we know. Well, I guess Elliott Avent's a really persuasive guy. So regardless, though, it is a tie ball game here. Devontae Brown with the RBI double. Or I guess you call it a single, and thrown out at second. This is what we thought would happen. I mean, last night was a tight ball game, a 3-2 win from NC State. Today, real tight. Every time someone has scored, the other team has answered. And that's where we stand right now. Knotted at 5, NC State up 1 in the series.
Yeah, this is exactly what we expected, right? Two good teams playing pretty well, a tightly fought ball game, and this is something that Pitt's done all year. Depending on the type of game, I think we hit on it earlier, Kevin, is the type of the game dictates really how they play. So this game is quite significantly different than yesterday and still have an opportunity to win, right? You would say Gilbertson maybe hasn't had his best stuff, but still has given his team an opportunity to win.
Big swing from Jarrett with Dad in the stands today. But hey, earlier he got a double, so he checked that box for Dad, made the trip worth it. Way out in front of that off-speed pitch from Gilbertson. 5 Ks for Matt. Two outs in the inning as the lineup turns over to Austin Murr.
Yeah, 1-0, I think he's got to go to that split change to get him out front. Tries and misses.
Austin Murr transferred into the NC State program from Des Moines Area Community College. He was an All-American at that level, played 2 years. This one's grounded to first and puts away Murr. So Gilbertson Monday night at 8 Eastern, the 52 postgraduate scholarship winners will be featured in our 1-hour special No Limit. The ACC salutes scholar athletes. Katie George and EJ Manuel will host the show, bringing together the best and brightest student athletes from all 15 ACC schools. That includes interviews about their passion for athletics, academics, and current issues.
That'll be cool. Looking forward to that.
It's definitely different and in a good way, because people often forget, you know, these guys are students first and foremost. That's the whole point of coming to college, and this is just, you know, part of the gig.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we said it last night on telecast. You know, there's going to be a lot of players on this field that are going to go out and do some amazing things and really change the world. And I love having that other side shown from these players.
Drilled to left by Washington. It kind of died halfway out and put away easily by Butler.
Yeah, that looked like one of those that off the bat you think, oh, that might be a big fly, but Washington maybe just a little bit off the end and causing it to die as it gets out there to left field.
Didn't quite have the sound you'd be looking for. Brings up David Yanni. Yanni was at the heart of that call in the last inning with Devontae Brown being out at second. Andrew Tillery on the bump in relief of Sam Highfill, who went 4 innings, gave up 4 earned. Check that, 3 earned.
that's a changeup right there. You're behind in the count 2-1 against a left-handed hitter with power, and you break off that changeup. Nasty.
Waving at it is Yanni. That pitch fooled him.
Yeah, at that point, you don't trust what you see, right? After you just got fooled the previous pitch with the changeup, you know, it's coming out of his hand. You're thinking, oh, is he going to go back-to-back and throw it again? He tries to go with the high fastball, and Yanni just not able to catch up.
Hey, so far, Andrew Tillery pitching pretty well. If Elliot Avent is looking for somebody to stabilize his bullpen, see if Tillery can keep up this outing, because he might find somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it's one outing in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that really snaps you into the type of pitcher that you can be. It's funny to say, but it truly is the case. I mean, coming in, having a .364 batting average against, I mean, it just hasn't all been there for him clicking this season. And since he's come out of the pen, Andrew Tillery's been absolutely fantastic.
Hewlett down the line and right, all the way to the warning track. We'll see if Hewlett can get to second. Brown having trouble with it out there, and it's a stand-up double for Bryce Hewlett, who salutes the dugout.
And I think I jinxed him a little bit there, right on cue, right? Hewlett delivers the extra base hit, but because he has been so good, the two-out double, he has an opportunity to get out of it without any runs. But Hewlett 2 for 2 with the walk. You know, if he is able to be this type of player going forward, the length and depth of the lineup of Pitt now extends another hitter. Might be able to take the pressure off a lot of guys down the stretch.
Brock Franks with 2 outs. Matt, what's it like to be in a game like this? Obviously, we talked from the beginning of the day, stakes are high, and it's basically punch, counterpunch all day long. We're sitting knotted at 5. I can't imagine the intensity of it out there on the field.
Oh, it's exhausting. This is the type of game, especially in the middle of the sun. It's a relatively warm day out there. This is the type of game where it's so exhausting back and forth that after the game you just can't do anything. You just got to sit there and take a shower and maybe go to bed. This is the type of game that just mentally drains you. But while you're in it, right, you have to continue to think of, okay, how can we throw the next punch, knowing that you're playing a really good team and they're going to punch right back.
Tillery steps off to check Hewlett back to second.
Yeah, this is the type of game that rewards the players that maybe can stay in it and stay mentally focused. Maybe you're 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts into the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, and you're the guy that comes through with the game-winning hit. This is the type of game that the mentally tough can separate themselves.
Well, even if you think about last night, Murr gets the triple, which he just kind of went down and got, and it was weak contact, but it ends up a triple, and then McKinnon ends up throwing a wild pitch. So it's not just the hitters either. It's how fundamentally sound can you stay at all levels of the field, whether it's pitching, defense, it doesn't matter. And interestingly enough, today, I mean, Devontae Brown has had a few issues out in right field. We've seen some NC State blunders defensively. These are 2 of the best teams in the conference and then in the nation defensively. And we've seen some weird stuff go on today. Franks sends it to right, and Brown squeezes this one. Still tied at 5 through 6 here in Pittsburgh. Back with you on the ACC Network. Take a look at the ACC standings entering today. Split here by division, but you see Pitt and NC State highlighted, and it's a big deal because with NC State's win last night, if they could somehow pull out a sweep here in Pittsburgh, they actually leapfrog Pitt and take the 5th seed, going into the ACC tournament because the seeding is dictated solely by win percentage regardless of division. So Pitt opting here or vying for a Coastal Division title if Georgia Tech can slip up, and Pitt is going to go to Wake Forest next weekend. But it's kind of an interesting thing here and an underlying story. If NC State can somehow do the improbable and win 3 in Pittsburgh, it could mean a lot for the postseason. As we have a new pitcher, Matt Gilbertson, is done for the day, and we take a look at the right-hander, Steven Hansen.
Yeah, Steven Hansen, the graduate transfer coming in here. You see there a little bit of a high ERA, but stuff's been really good, right? He's thrown some Sundays while Billy Corcoran was coming back from injury. He's the kind of guy, right? Hasn't been used in this middle relief role yet, but as Coach Mike Bell is looking for more relief arms to step up in that role, he gets an opportunity here against the middle of the NC State lineup, starting with McDonough.
Yeah, it's a heck of a guy to come out of the bullpen and face right away, and Tyler McDonough. Big swing straight through it. Hansen, the Iona transfer. He's had a rough few outings. His last 5 outings for Hansen, giving up 20 runs in that stretch. Mentioned off the top of the broadcast, Matt, how impressive NC State is with getting guys on to lead off an inning. This guy right here, Tyler McDonough, 481 when he leads off an inning.
It's an embarrassment of riches for Elliott Avent, right? At this point, he's like, who do you want to lead off? It could be anybody, right? They're all above 400 when leading off an inning, and but when you have guys like McDonough that have the ability to get on base at the clip that they do and be as powerful as they do, you know, it's a really good sign.
Good at bat so far from Charlie Hustle. Tyler McDonough, most consistent hitter for NC State this season.
Yeah, when we talked with Coach Avent about McDonough, he went on and on and on about McDonough and was about to say he's the best, and then stopped and said, hey, you know what, I can't say that.
Yeah.
He's not the best player we've had, but he might be the most fun to watch.
You know, we mentioned earlier his 53-game on-base streak ended on Tuesday, and Elliott Avent said, yeah, I didn't say anything to him about it because, you know, it might actually help him down the stretch here. Just against conventional wisdom as he goes down swinging.
Well, think about that, right? When you know, it's something that, you know, when you talk to the media like us, when you talk to, you know, your teammates, it's something that always comes up. You really are, it's something you think about throughout the game. Once that's snapped, now all you have to focus on is the game. So, you know, that's really where Coach Avent was talking about was, hey, you know, maybe that pressure's off of his back and he can go and he can be back to the player that he is.
So McDonough goes down swinging. Hansen strikes out the first batter he faces. And here's Johnny Butler. RBI double in the, single in the third. Sitting at 375, 444 OBP. So Hansen replaces Gilbertson, Matt. And this was a matchup we were anticipating today, Highfill and Gilbertson. And it kind of, I said this earlier, in a 5-5 game, you don't really say this, but it felt like a pitcher's duel as this one's taken deep to right field by Johnny Butler, and it's out of here.
Yeah, Hansen misses a little bit over the plate there on the fastball right into the zone where Johnny Barrels gets a barrel and hits it out over the right field fence. A really good swing by the 3-hole hitter for NC State, and just like that, NC State takes the lead, 6-5.
Hits double digits in the home run department, 10 this year.
Yeah, the classic money zone for a power left-handed hitter, down and in. Hansen misses with his pitch there, and NC State puts another single run on the board. They've scored at least 1 run now in 6 of the 7 innings.
And you saw Gilbertson there kind of just, distraught because it's been that type of day for him, and it felt like what I was saying before the homer, like a 5-5 pitcher's duel, because neither guy really pitched terribly, but they had some weird stuff go on in the game, some defensive blunders behind them, and Gilbertson just had a rough day and couldn't really find a way for anything to fall in his direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was doubles that bounced over third baseman's head. There were balls that were cue shots down lines that found holes. Guys scored on strikeouts. It's just been a little bit of a different type of baseball game. This is one of the sayings that if you talk to baseball guys, they'll say, hey, listen, anytime you watch the game, you'll see something you've never seen before. And I can tell you, I've already seen probably 2 or 3 things today that I've never seen on the baseball field. And a credit to Gilbertson keeping his team in the game through 6 innings, right? If you ask Mike Bell, hey, it's going to be a tie game going to the 7th, do you take it? I think he says absolutely yes.
Because that's the key. I mean, if your starter can get you in a position where you're still in a spot where you can pull off a win, which obviously Pitt is, that's what you need.
Yeah, if there was let's say a Webster's definition for a starting pitcher, right, it would be, hey, keeping your team in the game until later in the game, something along those lines, right? And that's exactly what he did. And that doesn't mean that it's always going to be a 0-run or 1-run type of game. This was a perfect example of, hey, let's limit the damage, keep us in the ball game, and let our offense keep coming back. And that's what's happened so far, is that we're still only in the 7th inning with NC State up 1.
Hansen already with 17 pitches in this inning. Luka Tresh pushing him to a full count. Strike 3 sits him down.
Yeah, and just a really good job of Jackson Finney behind the plate of receiving that pitch. Maybe borderline knees or below. He's able to corral that, and Hansen gets the 2nd out of the inning. When he's really good, he's locating down in the zone. I talked to Mike Bell about Hansen. He said, hey, he's really good when he's top of the knee to the bottom of the knee. When he starts to creep up maybe to the hips and chest, that's when he gets hit. So as you see there, successful down in the zone.
Torres, a hot shot, base hit to left field. He is just super smooth out there. Fun to watch. I want to go back to your comment about your Webster's Dictionary definition for a starting pitcher. I'm curious, did you ever get that talk? Like, hey, it's going to be a long day. Just get us to the 5th.
Oh, many times. Yeah. I probably have had that conversation, I would say probably 3 times a season. Where, over the course of time, right, and this is a generalization, but let's say you're going to have 5 starts a season. Let's say you have 15, and you have 5 starts a season. 2 are 1 is going to be your best stuff, 1 is going to be your worst stuff, and there's going to be 3 starts in the middle that are just going to be so-so. And as a starting pitcher, it's what you do with those 3 starts in the middle that dictate your season. And this was certainly one of those 3 starts in the middle for Gilbertson. He's had a good season so far, and he's done it today. I think that especially when you give up runs early, you're always thinking about, okay, how can I get deep enough into the game where, let's say Gilbertson comes out of this game in the 2nd or 3rd inning. Let's say he allows the big inning to happen. Now his bullpen not only has to cover 7 innings today, they have to think about the game tomorrow, which puts them into a tough position. So yeah, that's a conversation that happens all the time in the dugout in between innings is, hey, we got to figure out how we're going to get you deep into the game.
Great framing from Finney on that pitch. And that's kind of what's happened on both sides today. There's been a lot of threats for big innings on both sides, but what you see on the score by inning is NC State scoring 1 in each of the first 4 innings, nothing in the 5th, and then 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th. And it's the same thing on the Pitt side. It's 2-1-2 basically in their scorecard. This one off the handle, it sounded like, of the bat, and into center field for a base hit. Going first to third is Torres, and the Wolfpack are set up with 2 outs.
Yeah, and building off your point, right, when you talk to coaches, and this is so interesting now because we're talking about a third aspect of what most coaches will say indicates success, right? So one was runner on third, less than 2 outs, got to get him in, okay? Another one is making the plays defensively we talked about earlier. And then now we're talking about limiting the big inning. Most coaches will say, hey, listen, if you only allow 1s and 2s on the scoreboard, you're going to have an opportunity to win. And that's exactly what's happened today with both teams. That's why it's still a tight game.
Void to Menchik. 0-2 count. Menchik with a double in his last at-bat. Making the most of their opportunities today are the Wolfpack with 6 runs on 13 hits. Wolfpack have left 5 on base. 2 ducks on the pond for Menchik with 2 outs here in the 7th and a 1-run lead for NC State. Tatum with 10 stolen bases this season. Tatum was going that time on a hit and run.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I was actually just about to say it. I don't love putting the steal on in an 0-2 count, partly because a lot of pitchers like to change eye level in that count and come with a high fastball. And if that ball, let's say, was taken by Menchik, Finney would have had a little bit of an easier catch and throw to second base. I love actually stealing in 1-2 counts because typically that's when you see the breaking ball in the dirt. With that being said, though, when you have the speed of Tatum, I don't think it really matters where a pitch goes. You're a steal threat either way.
Swing and a miss from Menchik, and Hansen gets out of the jam. 6-5 lead for NC State. It's been a weird ball game until the 4th when we started normaling up a little bit. Terrell Tatum with a big fly to left field, and then Jackson Finney said, what you can do, I can do better. Same spot, but deeper in the same inning. Then in the 6th, we move along. Devontae Brown lines a double. Had a controversial call at second base, which we still don't know what happened. He ended up getting thrown out at second. And then Johnny barrels. Johnny Butler goes deep. And that gives NC State the lead. And where we sit right now at 6-5. We kept talking about Andrew Tillery and his good performance. So now Dalton Feeney, who Elliot Avent told us this week has started to separate himself in that bullpen, will take the hill for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, and talking with Coach Avent, he used one word to describe Dalton Feeney: electric. Right, that 11.32 ERA, a little high, but only in 10 1/3 innings. What you're going to see is a high 90s fastball. Coach Avent said 95 to 97 miles an hour with a really hard slider, up to 87 miles an hour. But one thing to look at there, you see that strikeout to walk ratio, 13 strikeouts, 10 walks in just 10 innings, gives the team, gives the offenses an opportunity to beat him by giving away the free pass from time to time.
So in this heavyweight battle we've had here today with punch counter punch, new pitcher also brings in a pinch hitter, Sam Frontino. He'll take the spot of Jackson Finney, who had the big fly in the 4th inning, and Frontino is going to tap out to second. Kevin Wheeler, Matt Iannazzo with you on the ACC Network today. ACC baseball, number 16 Panthers hosting the NC State Wolfpack. NC State with a 1-0 lead in the series and a 6-5 lead here in Game 2.
Yeah, and watching Dalton Feeney here, Kevin, this might remind you too of a former Pitt Panther, and those Pitt fans might remember Ray Black, right-handed pitcher, pitched at Pitt around 2010, 2009, and was a hard-throwing right-handed pitcher, still figuring out how to compete in the strike zone, right? He figured it out towards the tail end of his career and has turned it into an incredible professional career, throwing nearly 100 miles an hour. Last I checked, he was in the bullpen with the Milwaukee Brewers, and Dalton Feeney absolutely has that type of electric arm for NC State.
It gets on you quick.
Yeah, and what that velocity does is it allows you to get away with some mistakes, right? You saw that pitch right there. That was a, it was a two-way, and the pitch was right down the middle, and Jordan Anderson was still a little late on it and fouled it off. It allows you to get away with maybe not being as perfect with your location.
So would you rather a guy that throws 96, 97, but kind of has a get-me-over set of breaking balls, or maybe just one slider in his arsenal, as opposed to somebody who just has 4 pitches that they can go to at any time?
Well, I think it depends, right? I think the answer is it depends, and if I have the choice of either or, right, I'm probably choosing the guy that throws hard because I trust my ability to teach them how to do everything else, right? And when you have somebody that maybe isn't as hard of a thrower but throws multiple pitches for strikes, yeah, they can compete and be effective, but at the highest end, you're willing to take the risk that you can turn Dalton Feeney into that potential ace because he has that type of stuff. With that being said, though, the guy that maybe isn't throwing as hard but throws multiple pitches for strikes, there certainly is a spot for them at the same level. You're going to see guys in the ACC and SEC that throw in the upper 80s, low 90s, but throw multiple pitches for strikes, and they can be very effective. I mean, you talk about Matt Gilbertson, just came off the mound. He's not throwing mid-90s, but he's just as good as any pitcher in the ACC. So I do think there's spots on pitching staffs for both types of pitchers. But if it comes to the back end of my bullpen, which we are right now, I think I go to the guy that has the potential for more electric stuff, just because they can get you maybe a couple more strikeouts.
Well, as you say that, I sit here and I wonder, well, how, you said you trust your ability to teach somebody how to throw a breaking ball. And when you hear pitchers reinventing themselves all the time, it takes them years to perfect a pitch. So is that worth it, basically, is what I'm asking. Investing the time to say, okay, well, say Dalton Feeney here can throw 97. Let's teach him how to throw a changeup over the next 2 years. Do you want to invest that time?
Well, that's a great question, right? I don't think you can have, let's say the pitching staff has 15 members. I don't think you can afford to have 15 of those on your staff, but maybe 1 or 2 you can take that break. As you see there, Feeney strikes out Duff as we go to the...
Tomorrow we'll have the final game of a 3-game weekend series between Wake Forest and Virginia down in Charlottesville. Coverage starts at noon right here on the ACC Network Eastern Time. And obviously, as always, the ESPN app. How was that, Matt? Did I nail that promo?
Nailed it.
Perfect.
Nailed it.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
You never know. Sometimes you forget how to read in the middle of those things.
I definitely wouldn't know that.
No experience in that field. I think your day rate went up today because I made you do something that's not in your job description.
Yeah, hey, listen, my mom's a reading specialist. I don't know if you gotta make her proud on the call.
I know you told her to watch today. You had the pregame phone call with Mom on the way in.
Got to get warmed up.
Got to do it. It's like the manager, right? Instilling confidence.
Exactly.
All right, Matt, don't screw up today. High in the air. Franks settles beneath it. Jarrett goes down.
All right, 2 pitches, 2 outs. What do you do here?
You're asking me?
Hey, you're the analyst now.
Oh, now you're flipping the script. I like it. What do you do from a pitching perspective?
Hey, either way, yeah, pitching perspective. Why not?
Well, we did screw up in the last inning and started a huge conversation with 2 outs. And I wanted to ask you another question. but now might not be the best time. So I'm going to save it for bottom 8.
There we go. We got 9 innings tomorrow, too.
True. All we have is time.
Yeah, jumps ahead 0-2. This is the inning, right? This is exactly what Hanson's trying to do. Right, you get 2 pitches, 2 outs early, and then you continue to attack. And that was my point with asking is, hey, as a hitter, what do you take the first pitch? Do you continue to attack? Like, how do you do? Because you don't want to get behind in the count, right? And as a pitcher, you want to attack the zone early because you know that he's probably going to take because they don't want you to have a 3-pitch inning. But here, what I think, if you're a reliever and you're a hitter in this situation, go ahead and attack that first pitch if that's the one you want, because you're not trying to work pitch count against the middle reliever.
Even though he's up to 33 pitches, you're not trying to string him out a little bit more?
No, because there's a couple reasons.
I guess he's coming out one way or the other.
Yeah, you know at some point he's coming out, right? And you're already in the top of the 8th inning. And since it is a middle reliever and not a closer or a starter, you're not so much worried about tomorrow, facing him again tomorrow. So, pitch count for the middle relievers really isn't as big of a deal.
Up the middle, and Yanni boots it. So Murr on safely. Be curious about the ruling for this one.
Yeah, it would have been a tough play, right? Backhand with the speedy motor, the leadoff hitter. I think Yanni's kicking himself a little bit there. It's a play that he expects to make. But either way, I think it would have been a relatively tough play had he come up with it.
And it is called a single. I think it was deep enough in the hole where you can make an argument for that. Gets away briefly, as we did forget to mention, since Ferrantino came in and pinch hit for Jackson Finney, it's now Ramon Padilla behind the plate. Tyler McDonough, one of the toughest outs in the ACC and probably the country. He could change the complexion of this game in a quick way with one swing. Great knockdown. I don't know if that hit Murr, if that hit Bryce Hewlett. I think it hit Murr, and that means he's out. So that's going to conclude the inning, and you hope that Murr is okay. Panthers, hacks coming up in the bottom of the 8th, down 1. End of the top of the 8th resulted in a hard liner off the leg of Austin Murray. He looks to be okay, moving around there at first. Let's take a look. You don't want to be on the other end of this.
Yeah, that ball was smoked, and got
that's
right
a bad
on the
spot.
Inside of the heel.
It was hit so fast that I really didn't know if it hit Hewlett's glove or it hit his leg, and you could hear it pop. Like, it sounded like a glove pop. But he looks to be all right, and it looks like he's messing with it a little bit here. Let's check out that bruise.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still feeling it.
Yeah, I don't think flip-flops are going to be in the shoe category for him. I don't know, though. You got a mustache like that. I don't know if you feel pain.
Yeah, you don't. Well, yeah, you know what I was going to say? I was going to say rub some dirt on it, but it's a turf field, so you can't do it.
Rub some rubber pellets on it.
Yeah, that'll be comfortable. Grounded to third. Popa is retired. So I was going to ask you this before, Matt. I mentioned in the last half that I was going to bring this up, but earlier you're talking about stealing a base on an 0-2 count, not liking that because typically a pitcher would go high fastball to change the eye level. And I'm curious, I could consider that wasting a pitch. And when you have somebody 0-2, would you waste a pitch in that scenario and go high fastball, or do you go right at him? Are you a proponent of wasting a pitch like that?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't love the terminology of wasting a pitch. I don't think anything that you're doing out on the rubber, out on that mound, is wasting. Everything you're doing is setting up either something you're going to throw next or something you're going to throw in the next at-bat against that person. So specifically in an 0-2 count, what I meant by coming up in the zone to change the eye level is to set up the next pitch of the at-bat, which might be a breaking ball that looks like it's going to be that same high fastball, that same trajectory out of your hand, and then all of a sudden it falls off the table into the strike zone. So to answer your question is, no, I don't love wasting anything, but a purpose pitch, right? But a purpose pitch in those 0-2, 1-2 counts, I think is necessary.
Not bad.
So to counter argue, if you have a guy 0-2, say you just threw a slider in the dirt and they swung at it, why would you not throw it again?
Yeah, so because of that, they've already seen it, and you have to, at some point, give your opponent the respect that they'll make the adjustment on that pitch. You've noticed that that's the hole, but they've made the adjustment, let's say, in the short term. So what you're doing, let's say you go high fastball after you said the slider in the dirt, swing and miss. Now maybe their mental standpoint changes a little bit, and then you can go back to the slider in the dirt when they're not making that adjustment they previously had. So if you go back to back, it's easy for them to make the adjustment because they just saw it. But if you put something in between, like a high fastball, it can bring them back to the mentality they had when they swung and missed a couple pitches earlier.
Similar to a poker game, that the pitcher versus batter battle that you have.
Yeah, and if I'm a starter too, it's totally different if you're a starter or reliever. If you're a reliever, maybe you just attack, right? Maybe you just, hey, you know what? I'm not going to throw a purpose pitch here. I'm just going to keep attacking with my best stuff. I think of Mariano Rivera, right? He's not setting up that cutter. He's throwing cutter. I'm going to go to the Hall of Fame with this pitch. I don't need to set it up. But if I'm starting and I know I have to face Ron Washington Jr. 2, 3, 4 times in a day, I can't go to the well too many times because how am I going to get him out if it's his third at bat in the 7th inning and there's 2 guys in scoring position, right? I need to save that pitch and know that I can get him with it.
See, this is stuff that you learn when Matt Iannazzo is on the show. Gotta love it. A simpleton like me just says, keep throwing the fastball. Matt Iannazzo's thinking 3 steps ahead of me. He's thinking about fastball change, then the slide.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, at a certain point, it makes sense, right? You have to think about, it's not just the moment that you're in all the time. It's about setting up what happened in the past, right? How have I gotten Ron Washington Jr. out in the past? How do I plan to get him out in the future? And is this the time to go to the well of what I know I can get him out? 2 outs, nobody on. It might not be the time as a starter, but as a reliever, you might want to attack that weakness.
So far in this inning, obviously Popa grounded out to third, and then Kyle Hess fouled out to third. And it brings up Washington, who's 0 for 3.
And what's interesting too, different dynamic, is in Major League Baseball, when you're facing, let's say, the Yankees and you're playing the Orioles multiple times a year, 19 times a year, you kind of have to keep a little in your back pocket. College, you might be facing NC State 1 time in the whole season.
Caught by McDonough, and a high pop out by Washington. It's been a wonderful year so far for the Pitt Panthers at 22-14, 16-12 in the ACC, and this is a team that was picked last in the preseason in the Coastal Division with an RPI of 28. You see the quality wins, Matt. Really what put them on the map was the back-to-back series against Florida State and Georgia Tech to open ACC play. After that Florida State sweep, everybody knew who Pitt was.
Yeah, exactly. Pitt started with, I think it was 16 consecutive road games to start the season, and that Georgia Tech and Florida State series were a part of that, and both of those series wins and series sweep in the case of Florida State were what springboarded Pitt, I think, into the top 25, and they've been there ever since.
And it was released yesterday by the committee that Pitt is one of 20 potential host sites for NCAA regionals in a few weeks, which, if you're a Pitt fan and you know anything about Pitt baseball, that's one of the things you might not have ever thought you'd hear. But the upgrades to these facilities here at Charles L. Coss Field in the Peterson Sports Complex and obviously the play on the field has vaulted Pitt into that conversation, and it all rests on the shoulders of the third-year head coach Mike Bell. who has quickly revamped this program with transfers, new recruits, and leftover players from the previous coaching regime, and he's made it all work to get Pitt to this point. And this is the type of game that they usually fight back and claw back into with a few hacks left. If they can shut the door on NC State, I wouldn't be shocked if they tied it in the 9th with how they fight for things. This one into the gap, stopped there by Hess. Sliding into second is Johnny Butler, and man, what a day Johnny Butler is having.
Yeah, absolutely. Another ball driven to left center field gap. Johnny Butler just does what he does, right? Just continues to be him, and runner in scoring position here with NC State looking to add, to your point, some much needed room between them and Pitt going into the bottom of the 9th. They know it as well as we do, that Pitt's a never say die attitude will keep them in it in the bottom of the 9th.
Butler with a double, a single, and a home run. So maybe if Pitt gets us into extras, Johnny Butler can go for a cycle here. Infielders are in at the corners for Luka Tresh, the cleanup hitter. And Mike Bell is going to take a trot out at this time.
Yeah, and to your point, to put a bow on that, is I think, Link Jarrett and Notre Dame have ACC Coach of the Year pretty well wrapped up with their improvement into the top 10. But with the job that Mike Bell has done this year can't be overstated. He's brought this team, as you saw, that preseason bottom of the ACC Coastal, now within striking distance coming into the season at the top of the Coastal. And what they've done has been absolutely fantastic. You see there with the projected standings, just, last place, moving their way all the way up. Without really a big change in roster from last year to this year.
Georgia Tech still at the top, obviously. The current standings. Pitt second in the Coastal as we sit now. Chase Smith on to throw. We'll tell you about him after the break. It's been punch, counter punch today for these two teams as you're filling up your score by inning right here. NC State with a run in the first 4 innings, took a break, tacked on 2 more, sitting at a 6-5 lead, and have slammed 15 hits across the park today as Mike Bell has made a change. He's going to bring on Chase Smith. He pitched last night, faced 4 batters in 1 inning and 2 strikeouts, and he gets another chance today on Saturday to try and keep NC State at bay with a runner on second.
Yeah, Smith, the junior right-hander out of Marietta, Georgia, he was really good last night, and in his career at Pitt has been a high leverage reliever used by Mike Bell in the closer's role, the setup role. We see him here in middle relief, his 23rd appearance on the year. What he's really got to work on is keeping that ball in the zone. You see there the 12 walks out of the bullpen in 22 innings. You can't be a high leverage reliever with walking that many guys, right? So, he's coming in here with runner in scoring position, nobody out, middle of the lineup, a big spot to keep Pitt in the game for their bats in the bottom.
Smith will face Luka Tresh with a runner in scoring position. Tresh in these situations this year with a .395 batting average. .32 RBI for Tresh, second on the team. First pitch swinging. Smith gets him to pop up. Hewlett puts him away.
Big out for Chase Smith, right? When you're coming out of the pen in this high leverage opportunity with the runner in scoring position against a guy like Luka Tresh, what do? You attack him first pitch and get the first pitch pop up. That's got to feel really good.
That'll bring up Jose Torres, who's creeped up to a .300 batting average now. Couple of hits today, been on base 3 times. Torres looking to bunt here.
On the drag, if they throw to you, be ready for him to keep them coming. Don't worry, I got it.
NC State 10-1 all time against Pitt. They've had their number unless Pitt can mount a comeback here in the bottom of the ninth, it looks to continue that trend.
What's interesting for Chase Smith is now I've seen him throw a couple times this year. It looks like his last couple outings, a little bit of a shift in how he's pitching hitters. Right-handers, he's really been coming in a lot more with a little bit of a two-seamer and getting some run, and then going away with his off-speed. We see the fastball in there, gets another pop-up.
Anderson forcing the throw is Butler, and he'll trot on back to second. Chase Smith, a sidewinder himself, will face Terrell Tatum. Tatum already with a solo home run today. Single and a bunt hit as well.
And it looks like Mike Bell is going to play matchups here as Chase Smith comes in, gets his two righties, and now with Sawyer loose in the pen against the left-handed hitting Tatum, might be the move.
Yeah, that's an indicator of how important Mike Bell thinks this game is. Corey Sawyer, the lefty, coming on to face the lefty in Tatum. 6-5 game with a runner on second in the top of the ninth. And Corey Sawyer will come on to face the lefty Terrell Tatum, going matchup game here, Matt.
Yeah, I'd love to see it out of Coach Bell. This is him saying, hey, listen, this game's important, right? We need to keep this game right here. We see Corey Sawyer 8 1/3 innings at 9.72 ERA, at just 12 hits in those 8 1/3 innings. But we saw Corey Sawyer yesterday was really good, through an inning and a third, no earned runs. We see that angle, that low 3/4 left-handed arm action to face the lefty in Tatum. This is a pure left-on-left matchup. I'm excited to watch it.
This is one of the things with the Pitt pitching staff, really. We asked Mike Bell about the bullpen earlier this week, and on a day like this where you have Gilbertson and he didn't go as deep, as deep as he normally would. He went 6 today, and it was 109 pitches. A lot of weird things happened to him today, but when we asked about the bullpen, Mike Bell said, yeah, it's my job to instill confidence in these guys. You look at it, and there's a bunch of guys with some staggering higher ERAs, and, where does it come from maybe outside of Jordan McCrum? And Corey Sawyer has shown flashes of being that guy. So if nothing else, maybe this is a chance, Matt, for him to say, yeah, Mike, I'm your guy.
Right, and you say that how Mike Bell wants to put confidence in his guys. How do you do that? You put your guys in positions to be successful, right? Corey Sawyer, really good against lefties. You get him in there against lefties, right? Chase Smith, drop down right-hander, really good against right-handed hitters. You get him in against two righties, out. That's how you instill confidence. I can tell you, as a reliever, you get confidence by having good outings in back-to-back days. After that, you're good to go. And this is something that they're looking for right here.
We got a balk here.
Yeah, it looked like a balk is called. Yep.
Yeah, balk sends Johnny Butler over to third, which really doesn't change the scope of what you're doing if you're Corey Sawyer.
No, the only thing it might take away from some aggressiveness with breaking balls, and so to get away from the pass ball. But you see here, it comes into the lefty. Unfortunately, hit by pitch.
So here's the balk.
Yeah, that's a balk. As you come set, it's got to be one fluid motion.
Ouch. He didn't like it either.
No, I think that wasn't anything personal. I think that had to be, hey, listen, this is an RBI situation. I want to drive in runs.
Right.
Unfortunately, now you're going to take the hit by pitch. Let's be honest, you're going to take the on-base percentage points. But you don't have so many RBI opportunities, especially against this Pitt team.
And look at this double steal, and Sawyer doesn't realize it. And then the throw gets away. Tatum all the way to third. Butler steals home.
Yeah, NC State putting the pressure on. This is something we talked about before, where you have the athletes on this team where you can put defensive pressure offensive pressure on a defense in ways other teams can't. They take off early to try and get another balk out of Sawyer. He steps off correctly, but he has to get rid of that ball. There has to be somebody, whether it's Sky Duff or the catcher or the dugout, yelling, hey, he's coming home. Typically, when you step off there, you want to get rid of the ball quickly so that somebody who can see the whole field, whether that's second baseman Yanni, shortstop Franks, can see the whole field and be able to get the runner out at home plate. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out for Pitt. And he throws it away from the catcher, allowing the runner to get to third.
And you know what's crazy about all that is not only did Sawyer not see it, but Yanni and Franks didn't see it either. It's almost like somebody thought timeout was called or something.
Yeah, there's got to be that same type of feeling as the strikeout in the first inning where Finney comes out to throw the ball to first base, and McDonough just keeps making his way all the way to home plate. It was almost a little bit of shock. It's like, hey, this is what you guys are doing? This is so different that we're not used to this. Nobody does this. You see that first and third play in Little League. You don't see it a lot at high-level Division I baseball.
See the reaction from the NC State dugout. They love it. And is this lesson time for Mike Bell with Corey Sawyer right here?
Yeah, it's got to be, right? You talk about, this is not the last time we're going to see Corey Sawyer down the stretch, right? He threw last night, threw great. There's a great chance we see him again tomorrow with some of these great left-handed hitters in the NC State lineup. This is a great time for Bell to tell Sawyer, hey, this is what you got to do next time.
Talk about a savvy 25-year vet, an Elliott Avent at the helm of NC State, calling a double steal, stealing home to give himself some insurance runs. Absolutely unbelievable, Matt. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, at the beginning of the telecast, we talked about the first 9 games of ACC play. NC State was 1-8, and Coach Avent said, "Hey, listen, I had to figure out the team that I had, and this is exactly the team he had to figure out and see that we're being successful this way."
So Gomez comes on as Corey Sawyer hits the lefty that he was brought on to face, and then doesn't notice the double steal, and then throws the ball away. So all in that, 2 outs, now a runner on third, and now Pitt down by 2. So it's Gomez's job to slam the door and try to get his offense back on the field.
Yeah, Chris Gomez has been really, really good this year for Pitt. Right, he's had some midweek starts. He's thrown out of the pen. You see there that sparkling 2 ERA. He's been has taken the next step in his development process in his super senior year here, and another one of these Pitt players that wasn't recruited by this coaching staff, but has certainly helped out.
Gomez among those honored pregame on senior day. Here is Vojta Menchik from the Czech Republic. Had a home run Tuesday against UNC Wilmington, a double today. Flicked the other way. Toward the wall, and it's out of here! That ball just kept carrying and carrying, and Vojta Menchik has his second home run in a week.
What a great show of power by Menchik. Takes the fastball right on the outside corner by Gomez and lines it out over the fence in right field, over the 330 sign. A great swing by Menchik. Puts NC State up 9-5 as they put up a crooked number here in the 9th.
Off the bat, felt like a lazy fly ball, and that thing just kept going. 4th homer of the year for Vojta Menchik. Well, that's enough insurance for you, you'd think.
Yeah, that's exactly why, Coach Mike Bell was going to the bullpens and playing matchups here in the 9th inning. He wanted to prevent the lead push to 4 runs, right? The closer you can keep it, obviously, the more of an opportunity to take it in the bottom of the 9th. Unfortunately, didn't go that way, but for NC State, right, this is the added insurance that really good teams put on late in the game so that they don't give up those leads late.
Obviously, the game's not over yet, and Panthers will still have the home half of the ninth to try and bring themselves back. Obviously, still within striking distance at 4 runs. But you got to think here, too, with obviously we know NC State is supremely talented up and down their lineup. But a lot of this, too, do you attribute this to a team that has made NCAA regionals 9 of the last 10 years and has been in these types of games before?
Yeah, I think at some point you have to take that into account, and when you're a team coached by Elliott Avent, you're never out of it, right? Gomez gets the strikeout there. Panthers down 4, headed.
Real tight game up until the top of the ninth. The mantra for Mike Bell and the Panthers all year is don't give up the big inning, and they did just that in the 9th inning. Some costly mistakes. Hit by pitch, a double steal of home by NC State, pressing the issue, and then Vojta Menchik adds a 2-run home run to make it a 4-run lead heading into the bottom half of the 9th. And we'll start it off with David Yanni. So bottom half of the order for Pitt, and they're going to have to string together some hits to give themselves a chance.
Yeah, at this point, you're that Pitt lineup. You got to think about next man up, right? What can you do to get the next person up and to get on base? You can't be thinking about extra base hit or anything like that, because down 4 runs, obviously your run doesn't matter so far. So that's your mentality in the batter's box. If it's a walk, great. Hit by pitch, great.
Hey boy. Hey boy, Pete.
Credit to the NC State bullpen between Andrew Tillery and Dalton Feeney. 4 innings between them, only 1 hit, 3 strikeouts across the 2.
Yeah, coming into the weekend, that was one of the perceived weaknesses of this team, right? And last night with Evan Justice, and today with the 2 relievers, you know, NC State bullpen has actually been a strength for them so far. See there, that's Evan Justice, and put together some fantastic 2 innings last night, showed off his top-level stuff.
Well, how huge it is for, or is it for Elliott Avent on the 3-1 pitch down and away, and that's what Pitt wanted right away, is a walk. And I was going to say, how big of an advantage is it now for Elliott Avent to go into tomorrow, assuming nothing crazy happens here in the 9th, and you know that you have a fresh Evan Justice waiting to possibly slam the door in a high-leverage situation tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. Right now, you know, you can bring in Evan Justice, let's say, in the 6th or 7th inning and say, hey, go get him, man. You know, it's a huge advantage to the team tomorrow. Now, as I said earlier, if you're Pitt and you want to get that next man up mentality, get on any way possible, it's the exact opposite for NC State on the pitcher's mound. You want to force contact. You want to force Pitt to score all 4 runs through hits and extra base hits, because that's going to be a lot harder for them to do without the free passes, as we saw there.
Now it's conversation time, and a walk will do that, especially in the leadoff fashion.
Yeah, that conversation is relatively simple. It's, hey, man, you got top-level stuff. Let's make them get hits. Let's make them hit their way back into this ball game.
And that promptly makes Evan Justice stand up to start throwing. Some Pitt fans trying to get into it in the crowd here. It's one of the bigger crowds they've had here in Pittsburgh as the season winds down, a regular season at least, as Pitt is still hopeful to host a regional in a couple of weeks in the national tournament, should they take care of business over the last 2 weekends here. Pitt heading to Wake Forest next weekend, NC State heading to Florida State. NC State at home against Florida State. It's 2-1 to Hewlett against Feeney. Panthers down 4. See the ACC's projected postseason teams. NC State, the last of the ACC, projected comfortably in right now with Notre Dame, Pitt, and Florida State all in the mix for regional host sites. There's a borderline pitch and a groan from the crowd.
I tell you, all of these teams from the ACC, when they get into regionals, are going to be, if not the favorites, they might be right up there with them, because the only reason teams like Miami and Georgia Tech and Louisville aren't hosting are because every weekend in the ACC, they're playing a team that's capable of hosting. So there's a little bit of infighting going on in the ACC this year, and that's why programs like Louisville and Georgia Tech are on the outside looking in the hosting category.
2 walks, and Elliott Avent is going to go to his closer, the guy that he trusts the most out of that bullpen, in Evan Justice. Can't blame him. 2 on for Pitt. They're trying to mount a rally, down 4 to NC State. Elliott Avent pulls the stud out of his card deck, and he's going to send Evan Justice here to try and slam the door on the Panthers. The lefty has had a heck of a year, the lefty out of Virginia.
Yeah, the junior left-hander Evan Justice, we saw him last night, absolutely electric stuff as well out of the pen. We see there in that 37 2/3 innings, 45 strikeouts, right? You're going to see a low to mid-90s fastball from the left side, from a funky kind of arm action, and a really good breaking ball. A lot of pressure on Luca Tresh behind the plate when Justice comes in. So we're going to have a lot of fun watching the 15th appearance for Evan Justice.
You know that Elliott Avent felt good about his bullpen today because typically Evan Justice goes longer than 1 inning when he comes into the ballgame. This is a different situation for him where he's not going to, unless Pitt mounts a rally, he's not going to have to extend the game. 8 of his 9 relief outings this year have been longer than 1 inning.
Yeah, and if you look at the bright side, if you're a Pitt Panther fan, right, first 2 games, you've seen Evan Justice twice. There's a good chance you won't see him tomorrow. So at the very least, getting another arm out of the bullpen from NC State sets you up in better position for tomorrow, as Pitt still has all of their back-end relievers who haven't thrown yet.
Justice having trouble finding the strike zone himself. Justice was the Friday starter this year at the start of the season until the North Carolina series, and that's when Reed Johnston took the Friday spot. And Justice was so good out of the bullpen that Elliott Avent just left him in there. And it also had something to do with Reed Johnston throwing a complete game on a Friday start against North Carolina. You could say that both guys are in their spots on that weekend.
Absolutely. Whenever you CG a conference opponent in the ACC, you know you got pretty darn good stuff, and he absolutely does, Johnson. We watched it last night. But when Justice gets into trouble, it's not filling up the strike zone, right? And we see it already, 3-1 count.
3 walks to load the bases for the Panthers.
Yeah, and this was last night. Evan Justice came in, and he was nasty, but the big story was Luca Tresh behind the plate. A lot of pitches that either were wild pitches or, just like that one, could have been, that quite frankly saved the game. And that's 4 or 5 pitches that Luca Tresh really handles. So now with a runner on third base and David Yanni, what Pitt has to do is allow Justice the opportunity to throw some wild pitches if he's going to, by not chasing and expanding the zone. So it's going to be something to watch with the runner on third.
The tying run at the plate is Matt Tarabek. He will pinch hit. The local guy from Irwin. Just 20 at-bats this year. It is senior day for Matt Tarabek as well. Local guy, went to Hempfield High School in the Pittsburgh area and won 4 Whippeal championships. Played his first 4 years of college baseball at Fordham and has NCAA regional experience there from 2019. Tarabek, a base hit to center field. Panthers score 1. They're going to hold him at third. Hewlett stays at third, and the bases stay jacked. Tarabek with an RBI single on senior day.
Yeah, the pinch hit appearance against the tough lefty Evan Justice, and Tarabek lines it back up the middle. A great looking swing. Continues to get the line going for the Panthers with nobody out.
It's up to Jordan Anderson with no outs, and the bases loaded. Panthers down 3 now. Dom Popa on to run for Matt Tarabek now. Regardless of the result, Matt, I got to tell you, with everything that's gone on in the last year, it feels good to hear some cheers from the stands coming down on Charles L. Coss Field.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of fun, right? This is what it's all about. This is what sports is all about, right? Having the enjoyment of the fans, watching the great sporting event on the field as we see the pinch runner Dom Popa on first base, pinch running for Tarabek, the younger brother Dom Popa of Nico Popa, who bats second in the Panthers lineup.
Anderson down 0-2. NC State took game 1 last night, 3-2. Anderson still up there hacking, staying alive.
Stay on it. Take the 4-hole. Stay on it, shoot 4-hole.
Bases juiced for Jordan Anderson. How about the approach here, Matt? Just coming up swinging.
Yeah, it's really good. This is that Gritzberg type of at-bat, right, where you're wasting pitches, trying to get a little bit deeper into the count to hopefully catch a mistake from Justice.
Jordan Anderson this year, .450 with runners in scoring position. In the dirt, takes ball 1.
So you can hear the crowd here just hanging on every pitch. This game is huge for Pitt.
Anderson, a grounder to third. On to second, there's 1 out. Tight play at first, and there's a double play.
Yeah, we talk about the defense of NC State, and here they are showing up in the bottom of the 9th, doubling up the speedy Jordan Anderson at first base. Great hands at second base by JT Jarrett.
Off the end of the bat from Anderson. The run does score. Just gets Anderson, who's very speedy. So now it's a 2-run ball game with Brock Franks at third. Inside pitch to Duff, almost hits him. The lineup turns over, and this is the type of guy you want at the plate in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely, right? You know Sky Duff's going to give you a quality at bat first and foremost. But this is why we talked about the crooked number in the top of the 9th, right? You knew Pitt was going to come back and give their team a chance to win. Maybe if they were able to limit the damage a little bit more, these 2 runs would have been, let's say, even bigger in terms of coming out with a W. But we're not done yet.
NC State asking questions about the strike zone. That one's in there. Even at 2-2. Tying run at the plate. Evan Justice on to save it. 2 runs across already here in the 9th. Struck him out. Evan Justice letting them hear it.
Yeah, he breaks off a really good breaking ball there. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Sky Duff is caught looking on the breaking ball away. NC State, an offensive onslaught, 16 hits, comes away with the victory. What they did in the top of the 9th ends up being the difference. As you see there, that breaking ball just freezes Sky Duff.
What a pitch. What a ball game. And look at Evan Justice.
That's the type of emotion, the type of person you want on the back end. Something where when they come in, it means something to them, and they have the confidence to close the door. Another really good outing for him. And NC State now takes the first 2 of the series, has taken the series so far. Pitt, important for them to come out and avoid being swept on Sunday.
Huge game tomorrow. Thanks for being with us today. As NC State, every guy in their lineup picks up a hit today. Tatum with a home run. Menchik with a home run. Johnny Butler with a home run. All of this coming at you again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So long for Matt Iannazzo. I'm Kevin Wheeler here from Pittsburgh. The final is 9-7. You can watch this entire game on replay and other games on the ACC Network and the ESPN app on replay. This has been a presentation of ESPN.